so high, blue eyes, fake cry. Beware of the fox tonight. Cold feet.
Hello, welcome to the live stream. Why did I screw that up? I have not screwed that part up in how long? Anyway, welcome to the podcast. This is NOVAtazz's Automotive Podcast, Season 4, Episode 39. I do have the lovely Katarina with me, and today's topic, we're gonna lose my frustrations out on a week of plotting out wiring harnesses, trying to mix different systems together, yeah, just, whatever other current projects we can figure out. I know Kat's got some projects going on. If you've noticed, she doesn't have her typical background. If you're smart-eyed, you notice things are a little different in her background. So she's got some news to share. We'll see if anybody of our other regulars pop in. I heard there might be a team mechanic popping in, and there might be a Chris, there might be a Brad, who knows. Also, if you're watching this and have a YouTube channel, or maybe even if you don't, car personality, whatever, and I'm looking for some more regular co-host as well. So send me a message on Instagram, or I guess it would be Instagram, or my Facebook page for the channel. And we'll see what we can do. Anyway, how is Kat today?
I am okay, if a bit cold, because it is sadly doing the one thing we don't like it to do around
Yeah,
here.
that 4-letter word we're not mentioning.
Yeah, I mean, I could flip the camera and you'd see it clear as day, but
No, that would be monetized.
I mean, well, here's the one thing though. I will say this accumulation was from last night. Nothing that has hit the ground has stayed. It's all melted. So
good. That's good.
I will say that.
That's an early 4-letter word.
Yeah, like I might be able to get away with driving to Edmonton tomorrow, because fun fact, I'll be taking this thing back up to Edmonton tomorrow, without swapping to 2 winter tires on this thing.
Oh. So you're not actually ready to swap back out to your other car yet?
Well, no, not yet, because if anybody has been following along with my stuff, I've been posting little teasers or whatever of my 81 Mustang currently is up at my buddy's shop in Edmonton and is in the middle of having a T5 swap. At this moment, what I can say is, so the old transmission is out, the old pedals are out, and that's about all of where we've gotten, to be fair, but that's honestly all you really need to do so far.
As far as disassembly.
I do have, I have the disassembly done. The assembly still needs to happen. But I am waiting.
Phase in between the disassembly and assembly?
There's no cleanup. What are you talking about?
Well, I don't know if you were going to spray some undercoat up in there, or do some, spot
shockingly,
painting.
It all has its factory undercoating still in place.
Oh wow, that's actually pretty good then.
Yeah, like very little of it has actually flaked off, so it's amazing. And yeah, but basically with that one, because well, the reason why I'm doing the T5 swap so soon, because I wasn't intending to. I was gonna wait until the spring to do the swap. However, 2 things arose. So one was, okay, I swapped in a 355 rear gear with 8.8. Well, it was an 8.8 rear end with 355 gears, and 355s from the original 6 3/4 rear end with a 273 open diff. And it completely transformed the car. But because of that, I decided, you know what, I really, because I've never actually done a 2-wheel burnout, because I've never had a car capable of doing a 2-wheel burnout. So I decided, why not? Let's have some fun. And so I brought a couple of winter tires with me that were just old ones that were dry rotted, and I didn't care. So burned those off. You can actually check that out on my channel.
It's only
a 3-minute video, so it's not too bad.
Other than other than the typical internet keyboard warriors had decided to comment on it. It was a pretty good video.
Yeah, oh yeah. Like I have one guy who's kind of funny that said it's weak as F.
It's an
Due to the
inline
fact it didn't.
six. I mean,
But
like,
no. Well, what he said is because it didn't pop the tires. I'm like, dude, I wanted to drive it back.
and not every
Like,
burnout has to end in a. You're not doing a burnout contest. Not every burnout has to end in you freaking popping tires. I mean, it's unfortunately that is what some of like the Summer Nats and the freaking Cletus McFarland's whatever his burnout contest thing is called. That is what some of that stuff has. Whatever. Just because you do a burnout doesn't mean you have to do the burnout until your tires are roasted. Those are purpose-built cars to do that, and if they get destroyed, oh well, it's not your daily driver that they're doing that with.
well, exactly, and like, and that's the other thing too. Yeah, I did not want to. Well, everybody's seen that video. Now that was special circumstances, but that video with that Ford F-150 with the mutters on it did the burnout, and it destroyed the back of that truck.
Yeah.
Everybody's seen that video, right?
Well, it's not the first
Even
time.
Holly
you
shared
see it a lot.
I
Was
know.
a
like,
Camaro
that's the
at
most recent.
Carlisle. There was a third gen Camaro at Carlisle that literally almost ripped the back half of the car off as the tire came up through the floor.
Yeah, and that's stuff that I didn't want to happen. Now, did I think that was going to happen with these tires? No, they're just not. They're quite small and whatever else. Soft compound type idea. So, it usually happens more with the harder compound stuff that are bigger tires.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, because these were only like 205 70 14s, I think. So actually, no, they were 195s. They look kind of funny on the back of the car because the front tires were taller and wider. But but so after that burnout, though, the thing is, it was driving just fine afterwards, no big deal. I drove it all the way back here to Sundry, no problems. Well, then I decided to the next day, I was gonna take it out and hey, let's do a little speed run that I do and see, okay, how fast is it in the quarter mile? Because I have a little app on my phone that tells me of how fast I go, right? So I do that, and all of a sudden it starts surging really bad once it hits third gear at about 3,100 RPM. It just starts surging, and I'm like, what the hell is that, right? So I'm not getting an accurate number at all. And then I try it again, and nope, still the same thing. I'm like, okay. So then I go and park the car, wait a couple of days, try it again, does the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, so I wasn't quite sure what was going on with the car, and what I found out is because I drove it up to Edmonton last week, and when we had stuff disassembled, and we found out that the torque converter got a little hurt during the burnout, which, to be honest, that is a risky run when doing a burnout like I did. Because I knew there was one thing that kept happening with the car when I was doing the burnout, and something you have to be careful of because of heat transfer, especially in automatics. Manuals, you don't have this problem typically.
All right.
And is with the heat transfer. And the problem was that, like, the more you do the burnout, the hotter it's getting. And also, the car isn't moving, so it's not even getting, like, air or anything in to try and cool itself, right? So, yeah, and I noticed that, because I just had my foot to the floor, and that thing has, like, an 1800 stall converter in it, like, from the factory, right? So, but I was starting to go higher and higher as it got hotter. And at one point, it reached, I think it was like 3,000 RPM, and then it starts to kind of have a little bit of issues. Not quite surging, but it was almost like bucking a little bit. So I let off when it got to those RPMs, and I thought I was fine. Turns out, nope. So after I got it up to Edmonton, we got it up on the lift. We started disassembling stuff or whatever. It was about 4 hours that it had not been run, and the oil pan was nice and cold, same as the transmission pan. But you touch the torque converter, and it was still quite warm after 4 hours. And once you feel that, oh yeah, you definitely hurt the torque converter. And the fluid that came out of the transmission wasn't the prettiest. It was okay, but bear in mind, that's only I think, 2-year-old fluid, because I had it flushed, I think 2 years ago. Less than 30,000 kilometers on it, and it was burnt. So it's possible that tranny might even be hurt from that. Hopefully not, because I sold it to my buddy, so we shall see.
There you go. It's a surprise.
Yeah, he paid for it in advance before it did burn out, so. It's actually, oddly enough, the same guy that I'm borrowing this magnificent specimen from.
No burnouts in that.
This thing can. One-wheeler peelers, and it's very, very difficult to get it to burn out, but it will. Just because, for any of you that don't know, so this is a 1982 Mercury Capri. It has a 255 Ford V8 that is essentially a D-stroked and with worse heads than a 302, making only 120 horsepower when new. Now, this thing is probably even less than that, just due to how the thing runs and whatever else, but he refuses to give this thing a tune-up or anything like that, because he's just waiting for that motor to blow up so he can put a 302 in. That's... and I don't blame him one bit for that. But,
well,
I
you do
offered...
a bad enough burnout, man. You can get him a new motor and a transmission all in one. And 2 rear tires, and you wouldn't be lame.
Yeah, exactly. You know, this thing
Just
is,
fry the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah,
You might even have to back half the car after that.
See, there you go. But yeah, like, and this thing, because, and again, like, I've had a couple of videos on Capris on my channel, but basically the Mercury Capri, after starting in 1979, became an offshoot of the Fox Body Mustang.
Right.
Basically, it is the more up-trim, sort of luxurious version. Even though you're in here, it's almost identical to a Mustang inside of here.
It's like what the old Cougar used to be.
Yeah, basically.
The Cougar was the luxury version of the Mustang.
Yeah, it was. Then it became a much different thing later on. But regardless, and yeah, like, the one big difference between this and the Mustangs is actually the front fenders and the rear quarters. They're actually stepped out a little bit. It's not actually any wider than what a stock Mustang is. But if you've ever seen a Fox Body Mustang and how the fenders kind of go, and then you see the wheel well opening that's a little stepped out, well, the entire fender steps out to that wheel well opening, and it looks so good, to be honest. I love the look of these. They also have a different grille design, and their taillights are unique to them as well. And after 1983, they actually got a bubble hatch out back, and they got recessed-in taillights that are a lot smaller. So, you know, just little things.
Big booty, little lights. Got it.
Yeah, and that bubble hatch added, I think it was 100 pounds onto the weight. Yeah, but it was more aerodynamic, so, and you got more room inside, so trade-off, right?
Yeah, everything's always a trade-off. Oh. I need to figure out where everybody's at today. We are 15 minutes in, and we do not have anybody in the chat. Yeah, this is why I was talking to, I think, you and a couple other people about maybe starting and trying a Thursday night and a Friday night as well.
I mean, I am open to that. It's like, especially.
I just need to see if there's a better night that's available. You know, that is more inclined to have people. Because, I mean, granted though, it's becoming winter. I always do strong in the winter for the live streams. Guess mainly just because less people are out doing shit on a Saturday night.
Yeah, and like,
I lie. We have somebody in the chat. We are saved by a regular. We have Jesse down in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, I can't see the chat. So.
Oh. Hey, Jesse, tonight's your night. Catch up.
Hey, I'm only gonna be here for an hour, then I'm dipping in. So.
Yeah.
Because Because unfortunately for you, hockey takes precedent. I've been waiting months to see hockey games. So,
You used to do live stream and hockey together. I want to hear it.
to be fair, I would do that tonight. My dad's in the living room with me. He's gonna want to hear it, and there's gonna be copyrighted stuff in the background. You don't want that. You know,
No.
it's just. So
Get him a set of headphones. You can Bluetooth it to the TV. But
I mean,
yeah,
I don't blame him. But like, but even he'll start playing stuff on his phone, for example, and he doesn't realize. And like, I found that when I've been live in the living room and he walks in, is he'll play that stuff, and like I have to tell him, hey, can you stop that? I haven't gotten any issues with live yet, but
yeah. I mean, like, real quick, it doesn't matter, but yeah, it can cause issues. I've done things in my car where I've had the radio playing for not very freaking long, or a car's gone by playing and YouTube caught it. It's like, God damn it.
Actually, I had one of my live streams I was doing, and I got a phone call, and so it went off. Now there wasn't any problems. They just said, hey, there was a copyright issue with this, so I just let them do their own editing on it, and it turned out fine. So and it was only at the very end of the video, so it didn't really matter if they cut it off anyways.
It does. It sucks though when it's during like a part where you're actually saying something or whatever, and they just cut the whole audio. They don't like.
Yeah, see, surprisingly, they didn't. They only cut just the music in.
They were able to leave your. They were able to cut the music out of the background without interrupting what your speech was.
Yeah.
Oh, they must have gotten
better.
I
was surprised. Yeah. This was last year. When it happened. So.
I've some of that stuff I've just decided to just like not monetize it and just leave it there.
Yeah. Well, because like the one thing is, anytime I do a live, I actually monetize it after the fact because I don't preview them and they're all on my phone, right? So usually when I'm live lately too, it's been I'm driving up to Edmonton and I'm bored, so let's go live.
All right.
Now, and that may or may not happen in this one. Problem is I don't have a dash mount to start to do that. So, he's not going to do. But man, like, okay, it's hard.
We're only catching like every other word, I think. Either put the microphone closer to your mouth. Sometimes that'll help.
It's literally right up my mouth.
There
like
we go. That's nice. Whatever you did there, it was nice and crisp and loud and clear.
Yeah, it's what I'm working with here. So
just shove the microphone down your throat. It'll work.
Yeah, well, the problem it pretty much is because I don't. Yeah, you can't really see that. Unfortunately, my lighting in here sucks. But
yeah, backlighting the worst lighting.
Huh?
Backlighting the worst lighting.
Exactly. But you know, well, it's either that or.
Ooh, yeah. Now you're jumping in Chris's territory. You just need a Peterbilt sign behind you. Oh wow.
Oh.
That was actually kind of scary.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Jesse asks how we are doing this week. We are doing okay. At least I am. Cat's in the middle of an epic adventure of a transmission swap.
Yes, I are.
I am doing this, and I have how many windows did I say I had open on Google? Was it like 23, 24, somewhere around there?
Something like that, yeah.
20. I have 20 some windows open in Google Chrome right now, all doing research on wiring diagrams and connectors and wires and terminals and relays and relay fuse boxes, and trying to piece together one cohesive plan of how I'm going to attack this wiring harness, because although the American Auto wire harness is super easy, getting it to work with things that are not American Auto wire, factory wiring options that weren't included in the kit, Obviously the sniper, the fans. Um, what else do I have? I have the fuel pump the fuel pump that I have to get wired in. My stock head unit. I mean, not my stock unit. My aftermarket head unit. Wiring circuits that I have put into the car myself to power things like a USB charger in my center console, so that way I don't have to use the lighter and have the wires hanging out of my dash. Things like that. And doing a plan of attack of what materials I need, what extra wire I need to buy, what extra terminals I need to buy. I'm also planning on shortening Holly's sniper harness, because there are some stuff that is just way too freaking long, and I don't feel like having like 6 coils of harness just laying on top of my engine somewhere. So I want to shorten them. I want to make them only as long as they need to be. It's not going in any other car, so I want to customize it to that car. And knowing what connectors and terminals they used, so that way I can buy the terminals to, 'cause obviously once I depin the connector and shorten the wire, I'm going to need to add a new terminal to it to to plug into the harness, to plug back into the connector.
Oh yeah, like and the one thing is, the beauty of what you're putting this on, as it is anyways, if for some reason
No,
you decide,
don't even say anything about it catching fire, because
no,
that
I'm
kill
not
me.
saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you ever decide to go away from it, or you happen to, for whatever reason, I couldn't see you doing this, but if you, God forbid, sold the car and you kept all of that yourself, the Firebird is a big enough car to where you can adapt it to like in your Nova fairly easily, I would think,
Well, the GM
and still have extra wire, right?
ish. The sniper part of it, yes. I mean,
Yeah, like
to be honest, the under the engine bay is pretty much identical from the Firebird to the Nova. As far as
yeah.
inside the car, no, that harness is completely different than the harness that's in my Nova.
Oh, for sure. I know that, but I was just talking about the EFI harness.
Yeah,
Right?
no, that's exactly it. The GM to GM in that time era is all but identical.
Yeah,
In fact, all of this American Auto Wire, most of their harnesses, no matter if you've got a Ford or a Dodge or whatever, they're all GM based. They'll have the specific connectors you have to connect into some of your factory things, like your ignition switch and things like that. But most of the harness is based, and like the fuse panels and stuff, they're based off of a GM fuse panel. It's based off of GM connectors. So like a majority of that is it's all GM. I don't know why GM is the staple, but apparently it was the most. It's I don't know, more reliable maybe, or easier to work with.
well, more cars made.
Yeah.
That's probably what it boils down to. It's just they made so many more GMs than anything else. To be honest, like, because you can look at just how many different models of the same car that GM was able to sell, which still blows my mind.
Well, every single
like
division normally had a version of each platform.
Oh, I know, but because of GM having so many more divisions than everybody else,
Yeah.
right? Like, and actually something that's funny is, so one of the worst offenders for badge engineering was the Chevy Tracker. And
it was a Geo, it was a Chevy, it was, what the hell else was it?
yeah,
Suzuki
I will save you some time. In Canada, now there is 2 versions that were sold here that weren't sold in the States. And that is the Asuna Sunrunner and
Suzuki's
the
the other
GMC.
one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Suzuki, Geo, and
Well, it's actually the Sidekick, and the Samurai. Those are the Suzukis. The Grand Vitara is the similar, but I think that's the 4-door one.
yeah,
So.
I just know Suzuki had one. I know that Geo had one, and I know
But
that Chevy had one.
but I'll save you some time. There was 9 of those sold in Canada.
Wow.
9
what?
different ones.
Oh, nice.
9 different versions of the tracker from different brands.
Yeah, that
So-
doesn't impress me at all.
Yeah, and one of those was a GMC, which only came here in Canada, same as the Asuna, and actually I think there was one more.
What's
The Pontiac version.
There's a Pontiac tracker?
What's the
Yep.
GMC?
I think they just call it a GMC tracker. It's Canada only. It's very up trimmed inside. They were very
Well,
expensive. Apparently.
GMC was Chevy's up trim division.
I know. It was the best one you could buy technically when it came to
Well,
price, anyways, and
I
options and
owned a
stuff.
Grand Vitara, and it's the Suzuki Grand Vitara. They changed it several years down the road, but the one that I had was a 4-door, and it was the exact same as a Chevy Tracker because they have 4-door Chevy Trackers here all day long. Same car. You can take a taillight from the Tracker and put it in the Grand Vitara. and
That's,
same.
they did that a lot.
Oh yeah, Sorry, I was thinking on that actually because they kept the Grand Vitara after the Tracker design, and that might be what I was thinking of.
Yeah,
Um,
those ones were terrible too.
But yeah, so it just GM was just so famous for that, and that's the worst offender is the Tracker
What's it
or
called?
badge engineering.
Oh, the one I always try and think of and I always forget. It's that Cadillac. What?
Which one?
I always call it the Cadillac Cavalier. 'Cause
Oh,
that's-
I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, there was a Cadillac version of the Cavalier in the early '80s.
yes.
What was that? The Cimarron? Was that?
Might
I can't remember.
have been actually.
Something like that. I can't remember. But yeah, and that's just goes to show you how low the GM stooped is to make a Cadillac version of a Cavalier.
What was the Cadillac?
It's dreadful.
I totally missed that. What was the
Yeah,
Cadillac?
Cadillac Cimarron. It was the Cimarron.
Cimarron, okay, yeah. So basically I want to say it was like 81 to like 83. They didn't make them very long, somewhere in that range. Because I know the reason why GM did it, they had to reduce emissions for the entire line down due to
They did
government
that a lot.
regulations. Yeah, so they actually built a Cadillac version of the Chevrolet Cavalier.
Yeah. The only reason we
Um,
have things like the ZL1 Camaros and the big monster cars is because of the things like the Cavalier or the Volt or
Oh, I know, but it's just funny because it's Cadillac, right? Of all things, Cadillac did that.
because they don't
Right.
consider it as a GM vehicle, they just consider it as a Cadillac. So something in the Cadillac line has to offset the high powered ones or the gas guzzling
Oh,
ones
yeah.
at the other end. Which is
But
why
yeah,
I found it
it was
really
a-
stupid that Ford and all them got rid of all of their small cars. And it's like, why? You literally
Because
just
no one
got rid
bought them and no one's gonna buy them.
what?
Yeah, well, they don't sell very well comparatively to the other
The
lineup, and that's
Focus?
why. The
I would've
Focus
kept
actually here's the thing. The Focus and the Fiesta in the States actually did not sell near as well as what people think they
I
did.
don't know, I see
And that's
them
the reason why
everywhere.
they caught them.
I see them
Well,
everywhere.
So do
Well,
I.
the thing is, the one thing is, in the States, it's interesting because per capita, actually, you guys seem to hate hatchbacks for some reason.
Oh, I don't like hatchbacks.
Here in Canada,
I'd rather have a coupe.
hatchbacks they're more of the go-to sort of thing for any of the small cars is to have a hatchback.
Yeah.
Compared to in the States where it's more vans and SUVs.
Yeah.
That have just dominated.
Well,
that
and
space.
technically an SUV is just a glorified freaking station wagon.
I love station wagons. Love them.
Yeah,
I'd like
yeah,
I
Bronco
like
wagons,
the
yeah.
actual station wagons.
I'm gonna get crucified for this. I like Ford Flexes.
Which one was the Ford
That's fine.
Flex?
Ford-
Flex was the station wagon that they made in the 2000 or later 2000s, and they discontinued it in like 17 or 19.
I like the old station wagons.
So do I.
Yeah.
I like the old
I'm
ones
just-
where they
I'm
did the
just
wood
showing you
paneling
the
down the
extreme love
sides
of-
and the like the sideways seats in the back compartment and the big old station wagons.
I know. I'm saying that's how far I'll go. I love station wagons. My dad had a Flex. And
Though technically one of my favorite vehicles, the K5 Blazer, is classified as a station wagon.
Well,
Yeah, well,
Full size
only
truck
because
chassis,
SUV.
it's a station wagon.
Yeah, the only reason why they called it a station
Because
wagon is because
SUV didn't exist
SUV as
yet.
a term,
It
yeah,
didn't exist
it
yet.
didn't exist. It didn't exist until the 80s. So then it changed. But
My stepfather's was an 85 or 87 K5 Blazer. And yeah, on his title it says station wagon.
well, it's like look at even the first gen Jeep Cherokee or a Grand Wagoneer. Even though, okay, yes, the Grand Wagoneer is sort of a wagon, but it's just
Well,
big
I
and
mean,
lifted.
back
and whatever
then
else,
they
right?
did consider them station wagons. I mean, literally, sport utility vehicle didn't exist when we were kids. That was a station wagon. It was just a 4-wheel drive station wagon.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and that's the funny thing. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't until the 80s where they actually,
Yeah.
coined the
If you were
term
to-
SUV,
If you
and
were
then
to
they came out.
if you were to slam a Cherokee to the ground, like the sport truck market, it looked like a station
Absolutely.
wagon.
It's the only one. I have no doubt about that. It definitely would, especially the two doors.
It looked like a station wagon. No, 4 doors. A station wagon technically has got to have like 4 doors.
Hey, they made two door wagons that were super cool.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
they were considered wagons, not station wagons. Station wagons were a 4-door thing.
I guess I've never heard the differentiation of those. That's all.
Yeah, like a
That way.
wagon is like a 2-door. A station wagon is more of like a family 4-door deal. At least as
Yeah,
far as
sorry.
I'm concerned.
I need more heat.
You need more heat.
Yeah, I do.
Then you just need to swallow that
yeah.
mic now.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing here.
Hey, look, Jesse agrees with me. A wagon is a 2-door. A station wagon is a 4-door.
Yeah, fair enough. I've always just said wagon for so.
A wagon is a 2-door. So like like some of the Subaru the Subaru Imprezas, or not the 4-door ones, but like the small 2-door wagon, the 2 doors were wagons. The bigger 4 doors are station wagons.
I was gonna say, when you mentioned Subaru has never made a two-door wagon.
Put a cap on the Baja.
That was
Not the Baja.
Wait,
no. What was it? What was the thing that was like the Baja? The before the Baja.
oh the Brat, which was a Subaru GL, which was a hatchback.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just a two-door hatch.
No,
They
no,
dropped the
it
back
was
off.
it was the thing with the little truck bed.
Okay, there was two different versions of that. So the first generation Brat was a Subaru Royale, which was a two-door hatchback. They chopped the back off and created a truck out. They did more than just that, but.
Yeah, so you put a cap on the back of the bed part. It's a 2-door, and now it's a 2-door wagon.
No, it's still two-door.
Because I think they had seats in the back of the truck bed at one point, didn't they?
Yes, although what's funny about those seats, because the only reason why they had those seats and they were dangerous as all hell back there, they're just fiberglass seats. Actually, not even fiberglass, they were plastic.
Jesse says they had a 2-door wagon. Oh, now he's retracted it. Now what the hell? You can make a lie. I've already said it on the live, and now you delete it.
Yeah, because Subaru has never made a proper two-door wagon. They've got two-door little economy hatchbacks. That's different. That's not a wagon, right?
Why? No, why? What is the difference between a hatchback and a wagon?
Size. Because the one
Size,
thing
yeah.
is, size and even just the look of it. Because you can look at, okay, let's do easy one for you. Chevy Chevette 2-door. That's a little hatchback. That's not a wagon. Right? Even a 4-door hatchback of a Chevette. Actually, did they make 4 doors? No, they didn't.
They made something similar. Because I remember a little.
Yeah, but
They wouldn't have been called the Chevette though. It would have been called the What was their bigger? I mean, that would be like okay, that was like the Beretta and the other thing. It was the same platform. One's a 2-door, one's a 4-door. That's the only difference.
Yeah, but
it's the
anyway.
Beretta and the fuck. I do not have the knowledge like you do stuff in your freaking brain. I have it. It's there, but it just does not come out.
But anyways, yeah,
having trouble.
Subaru. But like Subaru has never made a 2-door wagon, and because
Yeah,
they've
man.
only made a couple of wagons. The Forester, every single Forester ever made has been a wagon technically,
Yeah.
or a station wagon.
It's just a bulky
Station wagon
freaking.
technically. But they've never done a two-door wagon.
They've done
Not super.
something a little
So,
The
cooler
Outback,
than
yeah, the Outback's a 4-door.
yeah.
Yes, they did something much cooler than a wagon. And it did. I mean, I guess you could say it was a similar thing to Chevrolet.
So, like, what makes a 2-door wagon then? Because as far as I'm concerned, a 2-door wagon is 2 doors and a rear hatch trunk.
Well, what is
Yeah,
a two-door wagon? Those aren't.
That's
Yeah,
that's what you guys are calling a hatchback. I would have called that a wagon.
depending, because depending on even just
I guess the
how
length
it
of the back
looks,
section, maybe.
yeah, a little bit like that. Like when you look at the body proportionally, what looks like a wagon and what doesn't, right? That's the biggest difference for me. Because like for example, a Volvo P1800, they made a two-door wagon. Of that, which in a P1800 is just this little Volvo.
For it to be a wagon
sporty
two-door,
car.
for it to be a wagon 2-door, it would have to have 2 front seats, and the back would have to be all cargo.
Yeah, which they were, because they were only a 2-seater car anyways.
2-seater with all cargo in the back and a hatch is a wagon. A 4-seater 2-door with a hatch is not a wagon.
Yeah, like and depending on what it is, for me,
Now,
like
4-door,
it's only if you look at the shape. It's just the shape of it, right? To me, differentiates wagon or just regular hatchback.
I guess no. I mean, to me, it's a wagon has to have a decent sized cargo in the back.
Can I say
Which
something?
they do. Sure.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
Okay. A station wagon is a car with a longer body than usual, incorporating a large carrying area behind the seats and having an extra door at the back for easy loading, which sounds a lot like a hatch.
Yes.
But
yeah.
But I mean, now let's
They
find
had
out
2
what
different
a
styles. You had the
hatchback
door that would swing out or swing down, and then you had the one where it's attached to the glass and the glass would swing up.
A hatchback is a car with a door across the full width at the back that opens upward to provide easy access for loading.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. And that's what
Hatchbacks and station wagons, they interchange.
Hatch.
Right,
Hatch.
but
Yeah, no.
most station wagons had a hatched back door.
Okay.
But okay, would you say the because actually Teen Mechanic has had a couple of Mazda 3s. Would you say that's a wagon? Because let's be real. Because what you're describing,
Let me see.
that's kind of a wagon.
Let me see what a Mazda 3 looks like from the side profile.
See, and that's what I was saying, and you said no, it doesn't matter.
Well, like
Hey, like,
no,
let me
no,
ask you
a
this. Let me ask-
Chevette has a wagon style hatch.
A 1982 Oldsmobile, whatchamacallit, not Vista Cruiser, but the what are those called? What are those called?
Which one? There's a couple.
The gigantic Oldsmobile station wagons from the very early 80s.
Oh, well,
okay.
it depends. If you're talking like, okay, so going back to your Mazda 3, there is a station wagon-esque looking, but it's a 4-door. It's a
That looks
2000.
kinda like a station wagon.
But you just said earlier that a 4-door version is a station wagon.
Yeah.
So really, you're contradicting yourself here, bud.
Wagon is still a station wagon is still a wagon. There's a difference between a station wagon is a type of wagon.
Custom cruiser.
Oh, those ones were awesome.
Is
Oh, the
this a
custom cruiser?
hatchback there, Sean?
That's a station
old buddy?
wagon.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was a hatchback.
Yeah, actually, come to think of it, I don't think they had a proper hatchback that way. Anyways, I think it was just a tailgate
It wasn't.
that either opened sideways or opened down, right?
Yeah, that's a true station wagon. That's a true
Yeah.
station.
I mean, like
Yeah.
even my dad's Magnum is a wagon. Although what's funny is the registration actually says SUV, which I find
Wait.
hilarious.
Hold on.
That's a wagon.
You're my brain's catching up to you, teen. Now, why did you change your name back anyway?
It's probably
Because that's his
on the
name.
computer. When did I do that?
It's back to
I
Teen
didn't
Mechanic.
change it.
It's back to Teen Mechanic instead of Teen 2 Mechanic.
Oh, okay. Well, I did not change that. So
And it's not even Old Man Mechanic anymore. What the hell?
Oh, sorry.
But anyway, brain is going left field here.
Brain is
That
very
is a
interrupting.
station wagon. I didn't say all station wagons had to have a hatchback, but a lot of station wagons did have a hatch style back. Some of them had the door that swung down. Some of them had the door that swung to the side.
Well, actually, okay, any of the ones that swing sideways or down is not technically a hatchback. That's a tailgate.
I didn't say that was a hatchback. I said not all station wagons had hatchbacks.
You're right.
Yeah.
But most station wagons did have a hatchback that lifted up, especially when you got into the 90s. Because the doors got
90s.
lighter. They were all swung down or swung side in the 80s because the doors were too fucking heavy to swing up.
I will say in the 90s, wagons started to get hatchbacks. This is true. I will fully admit that,
Most of the 70s and 80s wagons were down or side doors.
What is a Honda CR-V from the early 2000s?
That is considered that's not even a generation of wagons anymore. That's called a crossover. It's considered a crossover.
A crossover between what?
Between a car and an SUV.
Yeah.
I think that's a hatchback.
It's considered a crossover. I mean, its market is considered a crossover. It was that market
actually,
was created. Crossovers were created, and it was made to fit in that category.
Yeah, CRV was actually the first ever crossover, and actually that's what the C and CRV actually means, is crossover.
No. They're like kind of the ones that started that whole...
Don't start talking. It means comfortable runabout vehicle. That is what CRV stands for.
That's really? That's sad. Because they're not that comfortable. I've sat in
No,
one.
they're not. They're not.
But yeah, it was one of the first smaller SUVs. That's not a hatchback.
Come on, camera. You can.
That looks like a truck to me.
No, it's a hatchback. Just look.
It's got a tailgate.
No, that looks like a truck. It does not have a integrated cargo department to the
God,
interior.
you are so butthurt over this. It is.
The cab is literally separated from the bed.
I just bought this. Come on now. Jesus.
It looks kind of brown and swirled shaped. I think they have a word for that. I think it's a 4-letter word. I can't say it.
I almost just left. I'm gonna leave if you don't tread carefully.
Yeah.
We're not even allowed to say what that brand is because it's a 4-letter word we're not allowed to say on this channel.
What, Ford?
Oh my God, you're gonna get me demonetized.
I'm sitting in a Mercury, which is a Ford. There's another one right beside me. There's one getting work done. And let's see, out of all vehicles.
That's it. I'm gonna have to take the video down. Damn it.
Hey, I have 3 Fords that currently run.
Oh my God, he did leave.
No, he disconnected there for a second.
He's short-circuited.
Yeah, he's doing that. But I mean,
right,
honestly,
I'm gonna have to remove Jesse's comments here.
My internet crashed right then.
Oh, you see, you could not handle it.
I'm so pissed.
It couldn't handle the anti-Ford.
Your car is the least reliable out of any of ours.
Which
ones?
ones?
It's the most reliable.
Which ones?
Sit there.
Which one?
any of your Novas or your Pontiac right now, because none
It's
of
not
them
that
run
they're not
and drive.
reliable. My Nova ran and started up every single freaking time.
Yeah, but which ones currently run properly right now and not? None of those do.
That's not the car's fault. It's not the reliability of the car is the reason why it's not running. It did not break down. None of those cars broke down. None of them are off the road because they were incapable of running. I took them off the road.
See, and I mean, at least with me, with my Fords, they've never been taken off. Because even my convertible.
Well, they're not my daily drivers anymore. When my Nova was my daily driver, it outlasted a Jeep Cherokee, a Cavalier.
But what I'm saying right now you're talking shit about Fords when your shit doesn't run.
Well,
That's the problem that you're doing right now.
no.
That's a big problem.
No, because my cars don't run because they're not reliable. My cars don't run because I'm upgrading them.
Never said anything about
Where's
that.
your
that
Mustang
they were
right now? Huh?
unreliable.
Where's your Mustang right now? It's up on a
Dude.
lift.
No, you can't do that. That's not how it works.
No, she's sitting
I
here.
heard
No,
the
no, no.
Mustang.
She's sitting here. You guys are both sitting here digging crap on my cars because
You're taking crap on
Because
my
you
car.
started it, bud. You started it. Don't even fucking
Wait a
bother,
minute.
dude.
I was
No, you
joking.
said that Ford is
I
a
was
Ford.
joking.
Yeah, I know.
I was joking about
know.
saying that Ford was a
But-
four-letter word.
Yeah. Oh, but that's the one thing though that you're doing, and like you're joking around, sure. But the one thing is though, is you're talking to a lot of Ford people right now, because literally with Jesse
No, I
here,
know.
with me, with Team Mechanic, you're the odd one out here, bud.
Yeah, so.
Like you have cool cars and whatever else, but my Mustang will outlive any of your fucking cars. I don't give a shit because it will.
Uh-oh.
Oh, really?
Those fight words too.
It's a 200 inline six. You're not gonna blow it up, ever.
I have a 5.4 Triton. You're never gonna pull it up. Watch me.
I bet you I could
I
find
mean,
if I could
that-
find my
that
inline.
was
I could bet you if I found my inline six that was originally in my Nova. I mean, geez, I did try to blow that fucker up. Literally ran that inline six with no oil and no coolant for 5 minutes doing a burnout, and it still freaking fired up and ran.
I don't like it.
All cars can be
Inlines are
reliable.
fantastic. Oh, that is true. Even the most unreliable cars can actually be reliable. That is 100% true.
All reliable at one point. That's true. Even the BMW 7 Series from the early 2000s was reliable at one point.
But I'm
when it was
just saying that you can't sit
brand new.
here and dig on my cars because they're not running, because it's not the fact that they're not reliable that they're not running.
I don't, Sean.
Well
we know
then,
that. We know that.
yeah.
I
Well
know
then,
that.
we both know that, but don't do digs at the frickin' Fords like that then. And you're the one person that says not to do that, and you just did it.
What?
So
The dig at other. I was not digging at other people's cars directly. Everybody
Yes, you
knows.
were.
What? You mean
My
the
car. Okay. It
the
doesn't matter. It's just-
the Ford truck you just showed me? That I was teasing about it. Did I actually literally say it was junk? No, I had know nothing about it, so I can't say that it's
It looks
junk.
kind of brown and swirly.
Yeah, it's
I
a
think
teasing.
swirl that
I am
word
not
for
saying.
it.
I did not sit here and flat out and say like, oh, it's junk because of this, this, and this.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
I
don't
just
actually care. I think we're all
generalized.
friends here.
I generalized, and because I can't say whether or not the vehicle is good or bad because you didn't even tell me anything about it except for show a picture
I'll hold
and a
you to
very
that.
not very good picture. Only because
Wow.
no, it's only because you showed it on a phone and it was glary and you couldn't really see it.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I can screen share if you want. You want me to show you a whole photo album I already have?
Oh, I'm sure. Is it got little hearts in the corners and everything?
Oh yeah. Man.
I mean, like that truck now. Oddly enough,
It's
for
what an early
it
'90s
is,
Ford F100.
late 90s.
Actually, early 2000s.
It's early 2000s. Okay, yeah.
What'd I
Because
say,
like
early
the
90s?
one, yeah, early 90s is a completely different buy style.
Yeah, not what I was
Completely.
thinking.
What were you gonna
Yeah,
say?
no. Well, that's the one. Because correct me if I'm wrong. With the 5.4 in it, don't you have to remove the cab to get the spark plugs out?
No. In fact, I'm gonna put all of this to rest right now. These people with these procedures talking about how you have to remove the cab from the chassis to replace the motor or do the cam phasers or do the spark plugs is all false. You can do all of that with the cab comfortably on its mounts where it's supposed to be. I don't know
It's probably-
where people got that from. Ford tells you have to do that. You don't have to do that. That's
Well, I mean, that's
ludicrous.
just like
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
Today I replaced the thermostat in my freaking truck because the other day I was going to work on what was that Thursday that it was freezing ass freaking cold, and the truck never came up above 130 degrees. Yeah, that was a cold morning. But I just replaced the thermostat in that, and they want you to remove the full complete accessory drive on the front of the engine, which would make it a hell of a lot easier because if you've seen where the thermostat is in that truck, it's down in a hole.
That's the same thing with the thermostat actually on the 302 box bodies and extension in the trucks too. The thermostat is a bit of a bitch to get to. You can still get to, but it's just annoying.
Yeah.
to
Well, I
really
mean,
access.
technically, I've already had this thermostat off before, and I did have to take all of that stuff off. But it's because they put a stupid little tab on the thermostat, the neck that comes off the top of the thermostat, and that little tiny tab gets stuck underneath of the, I guess it's aluminum, but the accessory bracket, which is like one giant aluminum chunk, that everything bolts into. And so it's really, really, really hard to get that thermostat housing out of there with that tab on it. Well, last time I had it out, I just cut the fucking tab off. Now it just pops right up through the center.
Dodge. No, I'm kidding.
It's just, I don't know why they, I guess, I don't know if it's in case it decides to blow out there that it can't go like straight up or why, but it's annoying. I don't understand why they have the tab there.
I'm not sure why they did that. And actually, because fun fact, I actually do have a dog. It's just not here. It's up in Edmonton. Because I acquired it's actually an 04 Dakota, with the 4.7 in it, which is not their best engine ever. They're okay. Like as long as you keep up the oil changes, they're fine.
What was
If
it?
you
Was it the generation after my, like the early 2000s Dakotas that had that really, really ugly styling to them? I was like all angles and shit on them.
Those are terrible.
No.
They were ugly looking.
This is the 2004 is the last year or last year before that.
Yeah, those were absolutely hideous.
These?
Yeah, and
No,
Yeah,
that's my
yeah,
generation.
yeah.
It's
The
the ones
new
after
ones,
that
yeah.
one.
The new ones.
yeah,
look awesome.
the very last generation of the Dakota. Yeah, that's what he's talking about. And see, and that's the generation I'm talking about, 04. And it has the 4.7, I think they call it
So they ran that
Intech or
what,
PowerTech,
2
something like that.
years? They ran that 2 years after they stopped the second gen Ram, because that's based on the
Yeah.
second gen Ram styling. And they ran the Durangos with that styling too.
Yep. The Ram was always the first one to get it. Then everything else followed.
Yeah.
I
didn't like
because
the
even
third
you
gen
look
Rams
at when look at a second gen Ram that came out in 1994. Second gen Dakota didn't come out until 1996.
I don't
so
pay attention to
you can
Dakota,
still get,
so I didn't know.
yeah, and then the Durango came out in the same year, or Durango came out in 98 actually.
Yeah. Well, we got a new general manager at the restaurant that I was working at the time, and he had one of those, and it was absolutely freaking hideous. I hated it.
Okay, I wanna just throw something in. These here, this is a 2005. Come on now, you can focus. That's an 05,
Okay.
and that doesn't look terrible to me. It's the 2008 and onwards to
Let me
me
see
that
it.
look like garbage. These ones here. Come on now. See what
That's
I'm
the
saying?
cheaper looking, yeah. Especially when they didn't have the options like that, when they just had the base black bumper and stuff, they just don't look right.
No, they don't.
And like, yeah, and I will agree, like, I don't mind that generation, to be honest, but the only thing I don't like about them is that they didn't come with a very good engine. At least the second gen Dakotas did.
Yeah, it's
you could get the, well, in the second gen Dakota, you can get the 3.9. There was a really bad engine that they made for those. To be fair, you could get the 2.5 AMC inline 4 in those.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they just for like a couple years of that second generation, you
yeah,
could.
it's like
And it was
2005 and on. Yeah, they're just absolutely hideous.
I don't mind 2005 to 2007. Those ones.
No, they
look
were all
okay.
angular, and it just looked funny, and it just, the front nose is just weird.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
just
you know what? I
gross.
like yours better, Kat. Those ones, but I mean, so when do we get to see a picture of this, even in the group
She
chat?
has
or
a picture of it. I think I saw. She posted something on it. I think.
Yeah, I
Wasn't it
did share
dark
a picture
color?
of it a few weeks ago. It's
Yeah, like you,
gray.
I now own this or something was the tag, and it was something like you got it from an auction or something.
Yep.
Should send it again.
See, I pay attention. I see her post. I think I even.
I don't. I don't
think
pay
I
attention
even
to
liked it or something.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I'll just send it to you right now on Messenger because that's the only thing I got here.
I'm
Because
partaking to the S10s if I need to go to a small truck. That's just me.
I like Ranger.
See, I prefer the Dakota.
No, actually, no. Do you know?
Oh,
Do you know what my? I like the Comanches.
well, that's the coolest one, I will admit.
What you're saying?
You know, he likes the Comanche, which the Comanche is the truck version of the Cherokee.
Yeah, I know.
It shares the same lower half. It's a solid floor. Like the bed is connected to the. Yeah, and it's
Shit.
got a unibody frame instead of like a cab on frame design.
Anyway,
Alright,
what were you about to say about your Dakota? Did we lose you?
I think she froze.
Uh-oh. Yeah, it is
Yeah,
pretty cool.
Oh,
just
wait.
sending it to you actually on no, it was just because I was in a different window, that's why.
Oh.
Because actually I sent it to your messenger there, Joseph.
Okay,
The
Joseph.
Dakota. There's only 2 pictures of it to be fair, but because it's
Says
a
we have
4.7.
3 people. Where is all these other people chatting at? Come on.
Oh, there it is.
We got all Jesse.
Yeah.
Oh, and its engine comes pre-assembled even. It's
Oh,
out of the
wow.
car.
You don't get a
No,
basket
that's
case.
no. Look at that engine closely. That's the 302.
I'm kidding. Oh yeah, that is a 302. No, that's
There's
funny.
a 302 there attached to a T5, and there is an 8.8 rear end on that trailer.
I see that 8.8 rear end too. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a crew cab.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's a crew cab. Yeah. Crew cab 4.7. It's got 369,000 kilometers I think, on it.
Mine's like
Now
385.
the 4x4 doesn't currently work because some idiot took out the pumpkin up front.
Why?
I don't know. I'm assuming it piled up, and then they're just like, well, we can still use it rear-wheel drive, so they took it out.
Oh yeah,
completely.
people do that. Well, I mean that's like me right now. I'm not running 4-wheel drive because the
But
front drive
I
shaft
actually-
is sitting in my freaking garage.
You should do front wheel drive really. Just take out the rear pumpkin.
Oh, there you go.
Cut it out, actually. and then
Well,
just
in my
do-
truck,
just
actually,
remove
there is
the
a
drive
there is
shaft.
a 4-wheel high.
No.
But anyway, so that one, yeah, and actually I picked up because we had a bunch of time to kill with getting the windshield done in that thing, and we went to Roy Marco's place, me and my buddy Keith, for about an hour and a half or so.
Yep.
While we were waiting for the windshield to be replaced. And the thing is,
Oh, he posted a
He
news
for
video
s-
recently. Go ahead.
well, for some reason, he had in his yard the front differential and everything. It was from a Durango, but it's a 390 gear. The truck's 355, so
you'd have
that's
to
a
replace
problem.
the rear gear.
Yeah,
You just
replace
replace the
rear
gear in one of them. The at least you're partway there. The gear you can order. I mean, the housing's the hard part.
Yeah, I got all of that. And with the little axles out of it and everything, like it's all there, which is nice because like even the guys pulled out like the axles on it too. They just left the brakes and that's it
No.
on the front, right? So
Because
it's
because of the way that those front axles are, they had to. Otherwise, they couldn't run it that way.
yeah. And it makes sense. It's just like, but man, you couldn't just throw that crap in the box or something? But no. So, but luckily, yeah, visiting him, he had the stuff and got it for $40, which was nice. That already pulled and everything, didn't have to worry about it. And like I said, we will either swap the rear gear to a 390 or swap that front gear to a 355. Don't know yet. I prefer the 390 to a certain degree, but also I prefer the 355 for a thing called fuel economy.
Yes,
So
a weird
You can't-
little.
yeah, the thing is though,
known
he
side
goes, you want the front to overdrive for rock crawling, but the problem is that's the only thing you could use it for then, because you could not run that on the street at all. Period. It would tear some shit up.
yeah, oh yeah, I exactly. And also this one, I wish it was a stick, but it's not. It's an automatic, which is fine.
Reminds me, I need to
Yeah.
swap the tires on my car before the front wheels, the front tires get too much smaller than the backs.
I like automatics in trucks unless it's a Cummins. Or well, no, even the Fords. I still like the automatics.
Mhm.
Have you ever dealt with? Because now I know you've dealt with second-gen Rams. I think you've driven at least one.
Yeah. I have driven at least one.
Yeah. So, anyways, the automatics in those just they like to pile up. To be honest,
It depends
just,
on what you're doing. The
you
thing is yes and no. They pile up because
Hey.
people don't know how to maintain them. That is the reason why most of them fail.
Just honestly, bro, lack of driving. is all you need to do. Like, seriously, people get in their cars and they drive, and it's like, what are you doing? You're gonna cook your transmission.
No.
You need to baby it, baby it. Flat surfaces only.
You can abuse the shit out of a freaking Dodge transmission, but the thing is they have clutch bands in them that you have to periodically tighten, and people don't do that. Yes, they had issues with the stock solenoids, but you go out and go get a board warrior solenoid, and you won't have that issue anymore.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
not.
well-
Well, sorry. Go ahead.
And there were some certain
Um,
things that they threw in there for creature comforts that if you get rid of, the soft shift actuators and shit, they run just fine.
Yeah, oh yeah, but like the problem is though, it's how they come out of the box is when when they give you problems, right? And because I know lots of people that have had that tranny pile up on them. Even my dad did. Now, to be fair, he did beat on that thing, but
And
it
if
was
he
only
didn't
under three. Well, if you let me finish before fucking interrupting, the thing is that that van was a little weird that he had this in because it was a 99 3/4 ton van with a 3.9 in it, but had the same transmission, that same automatic. And like he did have to replace the tranny in it once, but that was a work van, and he, really worked it pretty hard. So
Okay.
and it had about, I think it was 220 on it when it finally went.
The
I will admit
C6
that.
is a C. Jesse's saying they aren't like a C6. C6. I'm not sure if he's saying the C6 only has one band or the Dodge transmission only has one band, because the Dodge transmission has two.
C's any of the Ford C transmissions, so the C3, C4, C5, C6, they all have the third gear bands which you can tighten or loosen.
Yeah, the Dodge has two.
And you can do that. Yeah, and you can do that externally, which is nice.
Yeah, and
You know,
you can
it's-
only adjust one of the Dodge bands externally, but you have to have a special tool to do it.
Yeah, see, and but regardless, though, is the automatics in those aren't like if you have the option to get the manual, I would do it because the NV3500, people give it a bad rap, but honestly, they're fine.
Well,
They've
that's
got a bit
kind
of
of
a
where
stiff
I'm
clutch,
going
but it's
on
a
with
truck.
I mean, that's like
Yeah.
my truck. Most of the issues with the transmission of my truck, I caused myself. We found that out by swapping the first and second clutch pack bands. Clutches. I had them backwards. I had them in the wrong spots. They're the same size. They look the same. One's a little thicker than the other. I had them swapped. That's what caused the issues with my transmission. It wasn't the transmissions was a bad transmission. I
Before you touched it, before you took it out and rebuilt it,
I had a front pump
had
seal that went.
Okay, that's what it was. Okay. But still, regardless though, it's not the best transmission. Like it can be okay, yes, but for the general people that don't actually work on vehicles at all or do any adjustments to it, it's probably the worst transmission you have.
Well, I mean, it's got
Oh,
three. It's got
That's
three main issues. It overheats because the check ball fails, and so the transmission overheats because it's not sending fluid up through the automatic transmission. I mean, through the my brain's not fucking working. It does obviously the one-way check valve fails and it fucks up with the cooling. The other one is the original, especially the early solenoids. Again, that was one of their first transmissions that they were playing around with electronic solenoids. Look at freaking GM's freaking transmissions with the solenoids in them. It failed all the time too. The 700R4 gets a freaking bad rap all the fucking time.
Oh yeah, it does.
And that's no different.
Just for
The
that,
700R4 is not much different than the Dodge transmission. Than the 47RE and RH. It's basically Dodge's version of a 700R4. In fact, actually, that Dodge transmission did just fine before they put the solenoids in them. What were they? The 518 or the hell was it before it became the 46 RH, 47 RE and RH.
The A518, something like
Something
that.
like that. This is
Yeah.
a point proven automatic transmission. It's when they went to the lockup converter and the solenoids and that stuff that they had issues. But again, it was a new technology.
Yeah. Oh, but regardless, though, I'm not saying they're terrible. I never said that. I just said if you have the option, though, I'd much rather have the manual because it is a better transmission. That's
It's
what he's saying,
simple.
right?
It's that's just
not
the general
a
idea
fact,
of keep it
John.
simple, stupid.
It's not a fact that this is the only choice. You can't have the automatic. I prefer to have the stick, and that's fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
So,
like
I
oh yeah,
think-
like
But I mean,
yeah,
that's anything.
like
simple.
but how this started though is like I said, I wish it was a manual in that truck, but it's not automatic. I mean, that's fine. It runs and drives fine, whatever else, and seems to be okay. There's still more. We still need to check a few things on it, whatever else. There's like a wheel bearing that's going and stuff like that. Minor things. But yeah, I mean, other than that though, like it is nice, and because I have experience with the NV3500 that they put in those trucks, and they're fantastic. They'll put up with one hell of a beating. People will bag on them for one reason. It's because of the GM one. Because GM, I believe Ford used it for a couple of years as well, and Dodge all had the NV3500. Ford didn't have it for very long though. They kind of jumped off ship and did their own thing for a bit with their manuals. But the problem with the GM ones is actually it happened to do with the what are those the shifting things called?
The forks,
No.
synchros.
Synchros, yes. So the problem was in the GM NV3500s, all of those synchros were plastic, while in the Dodge one, all of them were metal except for reverse gear, and that's why reverse a lot of the times on those can actually go. It's because it's plastic and it's broke.
Is this the stick or the automatic?
This is the stick. This is the NV3500 stick.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, like and other than that,
But the thing
they're
is,
really
did they
good.
break during their expected life expectancy, or did they fail at their expected life? Because, like I said, some things are designed to only last a certain length of time. Most people drive a lot of these vehicles a lot longer than their expected lifespan. That's just like the nylon gears in the 403 Oldsmobile engine. They weren't expecting people to be driving these cars 40, 50 years after they were built. And of course they're failing. You know.
Ford did the same thing too with the nylon gears. So, unfortunately, it's very, very sad time for that. But in the 80s, at least
They all
some of the
did.
80s stuff.
They all did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
But
but
it was
you know,
about it's about saving weight. Plus the nylon or plastic gears were also quieter.
Quietness was the goal.
but like I've heard of like the Chevys with only about 150K with their synchros going.
150K
Right, with the
was
NV30.
a pretty decent freaking click of.
150,000 kilometers is nothing.
All right, not
That's
I'm thinking
what-
150,000
nothing.
miles.
I have some strong opinions about that. My F-150 out there, that's a steaming pile of automotive engineering, has 385,000 kilometers on it, which is low 200,000 miles. And a truck should last, in my opinion, but think about everything that a truck entails and manufacturing and engineering and use. Think about how long they should last. I think 300,000 miles is a very reasonable length of time that a truck should last. Should last. Not does, but should. I mean, a half-ton small show truck that's blah, blah, blah. You know, maybe there's variations and maybe there's a spectrum. But at the end of the day, a truck that's 2,500 or up or any sort of tow package or anything that isn't a luxurious or pavement princess kind of configuration should last at least 300,000 miles.
You're actually barking in the wrong direction. A
Oh,
work
yeah?
truck generally freaking lasts a lot shorter because
Yeah,
they are
I'm talking about this is how long a work truck should last. 300,000 miles, no matter how much beating you do, unless you're stupid. But like, think about it.
Now, I will mention something though. The NV3500 was only put in the half tons. The 3/4 tons got the, I believe it's NV4500, and then the diesels, I think it was the NV5400, if I'm not mistaken. And that was the 5-speed ones, anyways. They did have 6-speed ones later on too for the for manual transmissions too, which I'm not sure if that was a new venture transmission or who that was.
Were those overdrives or just close ratio?
Oh, they're all overdrive. They're all overdrive. Yeah, like any of Dodge's 5 or 6-speed manuals do have overdrive. Even the Viper has overdrive at 6.
No.
Right? So, yeah, because I don't believe they made a 5 or a 6-speed without overdrive.
No.
Because even an NV3500, NV4500 are both overdrive 5th, and they both have a granny first low gear. Like it's screaming at you at like 20k an hour to shift. Like, but but that's just how they're geared, and it's fine. They're fun though. I love those trannies. You can just fucking bang shift them all day long. I love it.
I don't understand what
my truck's just approaching 260,000. 260,000 miles.
There you go.
And that's what I mean. Like, and for the condition of that truck to be at 260,000 miles, there's less than a handful of dents on that whole truck.
Man,
and I know where they're at.
This Dakota does have a little bit of rust. It's not too bad though. Like the rockers are gone, but the box has a tiny bit, but the interior is like mint. There's not even like a speck of damage on the inside.
If I were to show you that truck when I got it versus after it sat, when I got it, that truck had almost no rust on it. Most of the rust that's developed on that truck was from it sitting in for what, 5 years while I didn't drive it, because I got frustrated with it.
I'm disappointed that my truck only has 5 lugs and not 7 lugs.
Mine's only got 5.
I mean,
but mine's only.
Well, actually, is that a half ton or a 3/4 ton truck?
It's a half ton.
It is a half ton. Okay, I don't believe did they make a heavy half that way where you can get the 7 lugs on those?
Yeah, and it's
okay.
A heavy duty. Yeah, it's a heavy half ton. That's exactly what it is.
I don't think the Dodges. I don't think the 1500s came with freaking. I think they would have been 8 lug for I think the upgraded Dodge trucks.
Yeah, we're talking about the Ford.
I know.
Unfortunately, rotors are much harder to find with 5 bolt. Believe it or not, most of those had 7 lugs. I don't know why, but you go out there and you see an F-150, usually it's got 7 lugs, which is weird. So the rotors, there's probably about 50% more rotors for the 7 lugs than the 5 lugs.
I have no idea. I have honestly, I have not looked at Ford. Like most of the Ford trucks I like are pre-mid 90s.
Yeah.
Like I like your older one. I like the one you just got rid of more than the newer one.
That's bull crap. No, I'm kidding. But still.
My buddy, my stepfather's buddy, he had a baby. It was like baby blue. It was almost like Jesse's Broncos blue, but it was like a 91. I think it was a 91 Ford. He had it lifted, but I think he had I think it was the Cleveland. I couldn't tell you whether it was the Cleveland or the Windsor, but it had a 351 in it that my stepfather built. In fact, he built that on my back porch, and that truck just was freaking mean. But I loved it. I don't know why. I liked it. It had the square KC lights and it was a 2-door, so it wasn't the extended cab.
Yep.
But that truck was just freaking nice. I like that one. So you can't say that I don't like Fords. Can't say that. I just brag.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the coolest Fords of the 80s right there. Mercury Capri. I will mention because they have a unique hood too. because they've got these vents in them. They're not functional, but
That's still cool.
they are cool, and they've got the steps in the bodies. You might not be able to see that. Maybe a little bit, yeah, because you can see how it actually follows where the like on this car, you see where the what I was talking about earlier with the wheel opening, it kind of steps out. Well, on this, it might be hard to see because of the light, but this actually the entire fender steps out to that versus just there, right?
Awesome.
And the back ones do it too. So
That's cool.
you know,
Jesse says the Bronco 2 was cooler in the 80s. I don't know. I
Oh,
don't like the small Bronco.
no.
I mean, I like his Bronco, but I generally prefer the full-size Broncos. It's like the full-size Bronco, the Blazer, and whatever the freaking one, the Dodge. What's it? The Ram Charger.
Yes.
All
Ram
three
Charger.
of those. All three of those.
Yeah.
Were fucking cool vehicles.
Yeah. Well, actually, I've got to I've got a jet here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, have fun, y'all, and I'll catch you in the next one, hopefully.
Yeah,
Alright,
you
catch you
betcha.
later.
Take it easy. See you later.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Whew.
I am currently just trying to buy some brakes for my truck.
I see. I originally was going to do this live stream without the thingy because I have been literally sitting here poring over documents and combing the interwebs because I don't know if it's just me or I like to do shit weird or different or whatever, but when you're looking for stuff, I have a hard time trying to find something that fits the application of what I'm looking for. And I'm like, I can't be the only one that needed this application. Currently I was looking for a relay box. Because right now, the Holly Sniper has its own standalone relay for the fuel relay. It's built into the harness.
Yes.
Okay. The what is it? Cold case radiator can be wired with one relay, or I can wire it with two relays and have the Sniper be able to turn on each of the two fans independently. So you can have one turn on at, I don't know, 185 and have the second one come on at 195. And then they're both on at 190. So you're only running one fan when the engine's at a lower temperature, and when it kicks up a little hotter, it'll kick the second fan on.
Yeah.
That involves having two separate relays.
Yes.
So we're up to 3 relays. If I want to go to modern headlights, right?
Yes.
The modern high output headlights.
Yep.
That's another relay.
Yep.
If not two
I know
relays.
what you mean. You need a junction. You need a box.
What I was looking for was a box that I can put one battery power in, without having to run how many freaking positive leads in. One power. Yeah, it's a bus relay panel. I didn't want a bunch of relays just sitting on somewhere in my car screwed to the wall. Looking for a watertight box, I can just plug the relays in.
Yep.
Now Busman had one, but the only bust version of their relay box that they have, okay, which is a single positive in and a single negative out with, obviously each individual powers out.
Yep.
Was a 5 relay.
And how many did you say you needed?
Well, if I do the power windows the way that the one place that I found did it, and I don't go with a aftermarket power relay power windows, they were using 4 relays. They were using a relay for each function.
Right. Okay.
So you would have what you would do is you would have a switched power, a keyed ignition power in to the switch.
Yep.
That keyed powered ignition would go out through the switch to trigger each of the relays. The relay would actually send the power to the motor.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Or I could do that ground. I could do it the backwards way too. I could have the switched power go to the relay, and out of the relay, the switch would be grounded. So literally, I would just have to run a ground from the main switch post, and then run the wires from the switch to the negative side of the relays, and then the switch wouldn't even be powered. It's just connecting a ground. But that's 4 relays.
Right.
The only other way to do that would be to relay it. Well, there wouldn't be. It would have to run the power through the switch. So you would have a power into the switch, and then whatever position you put the switch in would send power to the motor, which GM originally did it that way, and that's why the GM window cranks, power windows from the late the 70s and 80s. It's why they're slow.
Oh, okay.
Because they're not running full power.
Yeah.
You know, you're running that power through you're going to have power loss. So they're not running, whatever. So they have it that way. I'm going to switch me and you because you're facing that way and I'm facing this. So hold on. There we go. Now it looks like we're kind of looking at each other. But anyway, so there's that. And like I have, besides all of the things I have saved on the computer and the windows I have opened, I have, come on, light, there we go. I have a notebook literally full of hand-drawn wiring diagrams with wire sizes, what connectors things are using, because although, like, this is great, it doesn't have a single wiring diagram.
Yeah.
Not a single one. It's got pictures. I mean, it's got great pictures to show you where everything goes. Right?
Yes, but there's no diagram and you can't follow a picture.
Right. I can't follow where something leads, what terminal it goes to. I mean, it does have some stuff with like certain connectors.
Yeah.
Right? And it has little diagrams or whatever. But when you're trying to integrate another harness into it, you don't know which of those wires are keyed ignition, which one's an accessory, which one's direct to power. Like you have like 3 main connections in a harness. You have your direct to battery, where it's literally just a fused battery, whatever. You have ones that run to the key and then out, that are on anytime the car is in accessory or run.
Yeah.
And then you have your switched ignition, which are on only when the engine's on and during cranking. So whenever the key is in the on position or cranking, they're on. Holly needs switched ignitions to run the Holly and the Sniper and the fuel pump. And the fans have to be run that way. Power windows are the same thing. The power windows run off of a switched ignition.
Yeah.
I'm also adding I'm adding another accessory power wire that runs down my center console and powers, technically it's a cigarette lighter, inside of my center console box.
Yep.
Now, granted, I'm not plugging a cigarette in there. I'm using it as a power outlet for a USB strip. So that way I can plug my phone's charger port there.
Yeah.
Instead of plugging it in, I think I might actually even switch it to being an actual, like, in the console mounted USB panel. Instead of, I might even run a USB panel and that power outlet.
Yeah.
Separately.
Which wouldn't be such a bad idea. I mean,
no.
USB is
Especially if, like, you have kids in the back seat that want to, use
their phone.
Yeah, whatever. But I mainly want it because I don't want to be charging my phone off of the dash power outlet.
Yeah.
And I also want to be able to hide my phone and stuff when I take the car out. That way, if my phone's dying, but I need to charge it, instead of me leaving it lay in the car on the seat and hanging out of the dashboard, all I need to do is have it in the center console. So also thinking about running a second one to the glove box. Just a USB power source to the glove box.
That wouldn't be a bad idea.
Again,
at all,
plug the phone in, close it inside the glove box, you're
No,
fine.
no,
Everything's
yeah.
hidden, so when you're at the car show or whatever, the car looks clean.
Yeah.
You don't see modern stuff hanging out all over the place.
Yes.
There is no way. I mean, I could probably do a wireless charger on the center console, and
That would be cool.
have it underneath. There is a flat spot in front of the shifter.
Do that.
Or I could integrate it into what would have been like the map door that's right underneath of the radio and the cigarette, whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes they put the CB radios there, or the 8-track players. They put them in that spot. Could, but the problem is with that car, the phone would never stay put in the spot long enough.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
that's
sure you
true.
know exactly what I'm talking about. That car is going to be taking corners and everything else. That freaking phone's not going to stay in that spot.
I know.
A charger, an actual cord is going to be so much better.
Yes.
Because if I were to put one of those wireless charging ports there, the phone literally has to stay on top of that port. Unless there's something there to keep that phone there, it's just going to slide all over the place.
I feel like if you had a relatively designated spot, like you said, in front of the shifter, if there was an actual flat spot where you could have, like, because modern wireless chargers are flat and in front of the shifter too, but it's usually rubberized.
Right, but I don't want it to look like, that's the thing, is I don't want it, I want the interior of the car to look like it could have still be from the 70s.
Right.
I want to integrate modern convenience into it, but I don't want them like, hey, here I am.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know,
Okay.
I did the same thing with everything else. Like, I put freaking huge ass 6x9 rear speakers in my freaking Nova. Way bigger than, you know, they only came with like 5x7s, I think, in the back. And they were, but I put I even did that in my Escort. I had that, the 4-door Escort.
Yeah.
They had a full stereo in it. Damned if you opened that car, you could tell it was even in there. Not till I turned on the car and turned on the radio, because it had full speakers in all of the doors and the rear deck lid. Everything was hidden underneath of the factory panels.
The Escort. That's funny.
Well,
cool.
my first car was the 95 Escort.
That is cool.
It was that like forest green with the what was it, the 6-spoke aluminum rims, which were not the standard for that car.
Nice.
Had the 1.9 liter. It was the 4-door with the drop rear seats.
You get an extra 0.9 of a liter.
Oh.
That is so cool.
It got like 27, 28 miles to the gallon too.
Not even in the 30s. That is so cool.
But the thing is, well, you gotta think, this is a mid-90s car, and it's got just as good gas mileage as the freaking Kia does. And that's a 2011.
Kia gets in the 20s?
The Kia gets around 27 to 30 to 27 to 32 miles to the gallon, depending on what you're doing.
Yeah.
But you gotta remember, we have all hilly back roads back here, and I can easily get 32 miles to the gallon on the highway.
I'm actually curious what my truck gets now that I think about it.
If I am not putting my foot in the gas and I'm just cruising at like 65 miles an hour on the highway, and it's like flat highway, because we have highways out here that aren't flat either. They're just as freaking hilly as the back road, some of them. Yes. If it's a nice flat spot, yeah, you can easily get 32. I've even hit 36 on a new tank. You know, obviously the by 32 miles a gallon, I'm averaging a whole tank, which goes anywhere from like 220 miles to almost 260, 270 miles to a tank, depending on. It only has a 10-gallon tank.
In what? The Kias?
The Kia. It's got like an 11.5 gallon tank or something like that. The most I've ever put in it was like 11.5 gallons.
That's insane.
That's a lot of mileage for a like 11-gallon tank.
So say you're getting like, say 400 kilometers in my mind out of 10 gallons?
Mm-hmm. It's a 10-gallon tank.
And
no, it's like 11. Like I said, it's like 11.5.
So this is a 35-liter tank, and you're getting 400. That doesn't make sense.
The thing sips gas. I have to fill it.
Like a good example. my Volkswagen Jetta that I had, it was an 88. Believe that one had a 30 or 28 or 30 liter tank.
I have no idea how many
Minuscule.
that is in gallons.
No, so that's like a 7.8 or 8 liter or 8 gallon tank. It's like about 8 gallon tank. And it got 700 clicks to a tank. Like, no, probably closer to 8 or 9 gallons, but still 700 clicks. It was a 1.8 with bad valve seals, but I don't understand how the Kia's getting 400 or 3 or 200 and whatever miles out of 10 gallons. I mean, that seems
Like I
maybe I've
said,
got something backwards, but
like I said, it gets almost 30 miles to the gallon. I mean, like, I play with that car, so it can get much better than when I drive. When I drive it, it gets worse than when Jess drives it.
right. Okay.
And it's the green car could get better gas mileage even though it has a bigger engine because it has the 6-speed.
Yeah.
If I kept it up in 6th gear instead of
What
playing
year?
with it.
What
Huh?
year?
The gray one's a 2011.
And what motor do they have in those? A 1.8 or something?
Huh?
What motor?
The
What motor is it? Is it a 1.8 or something like
1.8,
that?
1.9. The green one had the 2.0 or
Okay.
2.2. Let me see.
So 27 to 30 miles a gallon, you said, which is what it's saying here. It says 343 miles total range, but you live in a hilly area.
Mm-hmm.
So how is that possible? So you're getting 500 kilometers. Well,
I've shown pictures in the chat of the miles per gallon the thing got. That was the green car, I think, not even the gray one. So the green one's the bigger engine with a 6-speed, what, manual, automatic, whatever you want to call it. It's the select to shift. The gray one can do it too.
so you've got a 12.7 gallon tank, and you're getting 500 kilometers out of that.
I don't think I've ever put over 12 gallons in it. The most I've ever put in it was like 11.5.
Okay. It says 12.7 across all models, but
Right, but I don't think I've ever dropped it
sure.
that low. Like it hits so it has at 30 miles to go, it clicks off how many miles you have left in the tank.
What? Okay, I'm just looking at this right now.
Okay.
So this is my calculator, numbers don't lie. You've got a 48 liter tank. I understand it in liters. My Mazda 3 had a 55 liter tank. So that is 7, wait, hang on. What am I doing here? 57 liters more or something, which is under 2 gallons bigger. Well under 2 gallons. That's about a gallon and a half bigger, which is noticeable. But when you're talking about miles per gallon, that's not all that huge. So you've got 48 liters. So my Mazda could go a minimum of 650 to 750 kilometers per tank on an extra gallon and a half. So yours is going less than 500 kilometers. And now these are all Canadian numbers, but it still sets the scale. 500 kilometers.
So you're saying your
With only
Mazda's more fuel efficient? Is that what you're trying to say?
how is my Mazda more fuel efficient than your Kia Soul? I mean, the Kia Soul's bigger and it's a hatch, but like
It's not a small car. It looks small. It looks small when it's not next to something, but it's a. I mean, we park it. If I were to go out there and take a picture, there is a '90s. Would you say it an estate car in the '90s? It's the bigger 4-door sedan
balloon.
for the '90s.
Okay.
I don't even know what brand it is, but there and then there would be our car would parked behind it. Our car doesn't look much smaller than this thing. It looks
That's
small
good.
when it's by itself, you know what I mean? But you put it next to another car, and it's only because the proportions are big in every direction that it looks small.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It is a hilarious car. Wide-eyed, Japanese-looking anime car. I mean, I know nothing about anime, but I know enough to know that it looks like some sort of anime
Yeah, I
Japanese.
mean, Kia Soul is basically a brick, but you know what? I like it. I mean, I think 32 miles to the gallon for a 2011 is pretty damn good because if you look at other cars that were back then.
Yeah, I think it is not so bad.
Today's Kia Souls get
Wow.
way better than that.
I'm looking at my Jeez, I'm looking at my fuel economy for my truck right now.
Dude, I don't even look at it. I can literally drive to work and watch the freaking the fuel gauge just tank. Well, actually, no, I lie. I lie. It feels really good when I fill that truck up because that truck stays full forever.
Yeah.
But then once it hits, like, I want to say it really, because okay, so I put 10 gallons in my truck the other day,
Mm-hmm.
$40,
Okay.
and it went from empty because it was sniffing the red line,
Okay.
and it kicked it up to 3/4 of a tank.
That's crazy.
It's a 25-gallon tank. 10 gallons did fucking nothing. So the first half of that tank, it's great because the needle never fucking moves. The second half of that tank really looks bad because it just goes wah boom.
Why does that happen?
I don't
That
know.
happens on all of my cars. The
I
Cadillac
hate
is
it.
the
I hate
worst.
it. I wish that a half a tank would actually be a half a tank.
Yeah, me too. My Cadillac is the worst because it's got that 8.2 liters of excellence, the 500, and this
Katarina's asking you if you were using U.S. miles per gallon or imperial miles per gallon.
me in
Because
terms
there
of
are
what?
differences.
Yeah, there are. I am using. That's a very good question.
Because that may be different.
Well, yes, I'm going
Like, see,
by
what year was your Mazda 3?
my Mazda 3. Well, I wasn't even using miles a gallon. I was using, there's only one kind of liter, and that's why I'm using Canadian numbers. I
Yeah, but
get
the conversion from a
650 to
U.S. gallon
750 out of,
to the U.S. gallon to liter is different than the imperial
I know.
gallon to liter.
No, I'm not even correlating the two. I'm just saying, because I converted all your numbers, and keep in mind, I'm
Again,
going
you
by
converted my numbers, but were you using U.S. gallons or imperial gallons for my numbers?
Neither. Gallons. Right. That's a good question.
That's what Kat is saying.
I know what you mean. Nah, sorry, I had a brain lapse.
He says the numbers don't lie, but if you enter the wrong numbers in, it can be wrong.
That's not true.
Anyway, what
Let's
year
see.
was your Kia? Was your Mazda?
2005.
5. Okay. What was in it again?
2-liter Duratec.
2.0, and it was a manual automatic.
Yep, manual. Manuel, actually.
Well, manual cars tend to get better gas mileage anyway.
Yes, like it gets, I think, 2 miles a gallon better than the auto Mazdas. The Imperial and US gallons throws me off all the time. Like, because what the hell's the difference?
Didn't even know there was a difference until Freaking Cat said something. Okay, so your 2005 Mazda 3 2.0 4-cylinder manual 5-speed with regular gasoline engine was a 27 miles per gallon 32 highway.
Yes.
Same miles to the gallon as a Kia Soul.
Well, yours isn't it 27 to 30? So I'm getting like 3 miles a gallon.
No, I get like 32. I told you, I've gotten up to 34, 36 on the highway.
Yeah.
I have pictures of it to prove it.
But how is it?
You have a total range. You have a total range of 392 miles highway in that car, with
I just remember driving to Strathmore constantly in that car, which is east of here by an hour, and I'm getting 700, 750 to a tank. Like, I'm getting almost a
so
full
that Mazda 3 should not have gotten any better gas mileage than the Kia.
How is it? Like, okay, but you're getting Let me see. What did you say you're getting out of a
Anywhere from
20,
27, just freaking.
No, but what do you? How much? What's the range you're getting out of a tank?
I don't know. I don't actually look at it that way. I'm anywhere from
What's
250 to 300 of real driving. I don't sit here and play highway driving and whatever and try to like get the most maximum out. I mean, the only times we've
neither
ever
do
done
I.
that
I'm a Canadian
is
with a stick.
the only times we've
So
ever done that was when we were going to like Jersey or DC or something where it was a long distance trip and we were just cruising. But
okay.
most
So
of the time around here, I beat on it. So
on the better end of things, you're getting 482 kilometers out of a tank, and on the average end of things, I'm getting 395, or which is 635. So I'm getting just about 200 more kilometers of range out of whatever gallon it is, whether it's imperial or U.S. gallon. It's still whatever gallon it is. I've got a 1.5 gallon difference, and that's pretty. It's the gallons are pretty similar. So how is it that 1.5 gallons, no matter what gallon it is, makes almost a 200-kilometer
because
difference?
again, you are driving from what I've heard from Kat, your areas are pretty flat.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm driving all hills, and it's mostly town driving. If I'm not in a hill, I'm in stop and go, freaking traffic light, freaking stop sign, freaking towns.
You're right.
I also have a nice freaking right foot that I like to use a lot.
I appreciate you working through that with me. I seem to have had a brain lapse.
Yeah, I told you I can get 36 miles to the gallon out of that car if I'm playing with it on the highway. Just doing the things that good fuel mileage conscious people do on the highway, which I don't normally do. Normally I'm doing like 85, 90 miles an hour and screaming at the higher RPMs of fourth gear in that gray car.
Yeah.
The green car I played with even worse. Actually, no, the gray car doesn't like going above like 85. It struggles because it's only a 4-speed.
Is the green car still in existence?
The green car? Maybe in pieces somewhere. May it rest in pieces, literally. I mean, when I left it, the whole front end of it was completely smashed in, and I sold it to a guy for $600. So, God knows, it may still be living on in other cars. It might be sitting in a freaking scrapyard somewhere. I don't know.
But that's why I'm wondering. You speak like it's still driving. I don't
I
know.
don't know, maybe.
Technically,
it was not like the parts that were fucked up would not have stopped it from driving. I mean, it had some leaky bits that obviously a radiator smashed and shit like that would not cause it to drive very long. But if you put a new radiator and a new fan in it and replace that stuff, the car would have run and drove just fine. It didn't impact any of that. I mean, it didn't impact any of like the driving components. The wheels were still where they were supposed to be. The engine was still sitting where it was supposed to be. It was the front end crumpled onto the engine.
Yes.
So cut all that stuff off. If
it would have driven, obviously it would have.
Yeah.
My truck, apparently, I'm looking at the best possible. Like this is.
We don't even want to look at mine.
Exaggerated like crazy. Apparently I can get up to 12 miles a gallon city, 16 miles a gallon highway, with a 14 combined.
Hold on.
That's insane. When was that bad? Jeez. And I actually have to head out in the next 5 minutes.
All right, hold on. 2001 Ram 1500 5.9 automatic 4x4.
Those Dodges have to be worse than
miles per gallon. Cat's back.
They have to be worse than the Fords.
Hi, Cat. Welcome back.
Okay, so something I was mentioning is actually the Mazda.
I'm sorry. I just laughed at my numbers.
So the Mazda 3 actually is known to actually get better than EPA of what you see of the manufacturers, like what they say. Most people get better than that. Well, to be honest, out of those cars.
Like I said, so does the Kia. I told you I've gotten up to 36.
Oh yeah, like and there are instances where both of them will, like, and Mazda's one of the most famous for that. Like it doesn't
It's only a
surprise me that you're
3-cylinder, isn't
actually
it?
no, it's 4. It's the same 2-liter that they put in the Focus as well, but it got better mileage in the Mazda because it's more aerodynamic than the Focus was. So
The Focus was a
um
wedge.
it's an
Kind of.
aerodynamic wedge, but it still is a wedge. All right.
I mean, like, how much more
Um,
aerodynamic do you get than a wedge?
Actually,
Good job.
contrary to popular belief, a wedge is not aerodynamic.
Oh.
If you look at the drag coefficient of a Lamborghini Countach, it's like 0.58 or something, which is ridiculous. It's like a brick going down the road, basically. For contrast,
Well,
my Mustang
no,
gets
because
0.41.
the thing is a Countach, yes, it was wedge shaped, but there were so many freaking stuff sticking out of it, and
No. I'm talking about the first Countach that came out, not the 25th anniversary one with the giant everything on it. The LP, I think it was the LP 400 is what they called it when the Countach came out, and I think it was 72, 73. That's the one I'm talking about that gets the 0.58. The other one, the 25th anniversary, gets I think like 0.62. It's
No.
dreadful.
Okay,
Anyway.
Sean. Before you get to your
It-
numbers here, I just looked up the drag coefficient of a 2002 F-150. It's 0.463.
That's funny that it's that aerodynamic. Like
That's
it's still a brick,
hilarious.
but it's not
my
bad.
truck is a brick.
I
I can
mean, your
literally feel the
Mustang
wind
is
pushing
what?
it around like a fucking giant sail.
Yeah, hey, I
What's
can
your
feel the
Mustang?
wind.
Huh?
My Mustang's 0.41.
Okay, so it's 0.5 worse.
What,
0.05
what's the
worse.
79 TA then?
Uh, yeah, I don't think it's great.
Well, I mean, considering it was mainly making downforce, which is the opposite of aerodynamic.
Wow. Okay. The factory measurement was 0.32, but it's been recorded as low as 0.29.
The Trans Am?
Yeah,
It's pretty aerodynamic.
I'm surprised.
that's
I'm surprised
crazy.
about that.
Anyway, so the Ram 1500 5.9 automatic 4-wheel drive
Yeah.
gets 11 city and 16 highway.
That is 1 mile a gallon worse city, same.
But then
highway.
again, I don't know because that's probably not with the 411 gears that truck has. That's probably the standard 3
411s. Why?
because that's what that truck comes with factory,
Yeah, that's the off-road package, which
is really fun. It
yeah,
likes
I
to
bet it
bark
is.
those rear tires off so easily.
Like, because the interesting thing is, like, in my Mustangs, because now it actually got better fuel economy at one point, because my dad's the only one that's been able to get really good fuel economy out of my 81 Mustang with the inline six once. Now, he was on actually a cruise with the car, and he got, I think it was 27 miles to the gallon out of it, which I don't know how he pulled that off, to be honest. Like, they say for the factory they get 28, but no, they don't. They just don't. Back in the day when, like, if you're able to go 90 kilometers an hour down the highway, it might get 28, but I doubt it. Like, you know,
So-
Well, the thing is it's not. It depends. Your best gas mileage is your highest gear at lowest RPM.
oh, I know.
So going 98 is actually not the best fuel economy.
No. What I was saying though is for just being in third gear, right? For like highway, like any highway, usually the slowest speed on a highway is 80 kilometers, which
you throw me off because 80,
yeah, I'm not
90
talking
up
about
here,
miles.
most
I'm talking
people are
about
around like
kilometers.
5,000, 6,000 you're climbing over 3,000 RPMs on the highway doing that, which is not great for fuel economy.
Well, for reference, because an easy thing to remember, 100 kilometers an hour is 62 miles an hour. And that's why a lot of stuff now, instead of being 0 to 60, it's now 0 to 62. It's because of that. So that it's understandable to both.
You know your Trans Am, Sean, with the whole 0.29 coefficient?
Yeah.
A Crown Vic from 1992 gets 0.3.
Oh, you want to know one of the most aerodynamic cars put on the road?
Taurus.
Go look
Yeah.
up a 19, I think it's like 63, 64, somewhere in there, Volkswagen Bus.
No.
Because they are
Pill
they
shape.
are a rounded front, a flat bottom, rounded top, rounded sides.
But it's not a teardrop.
It's pretty much, it almost is, actually. It's a fat teardrop, but it is a teardrop.
It's a pill.
Yeah.
It's a
Hey,
roly
they are
poly.
aerodynamic.
It's a roly
They are
poly. Is that
aerodynamic.
what they call them? You guys call them roly polies?
0.42. That cannot
The
be
pill
right.
bugs. The little tiny short
0.42
centipedes.
it says.
Oh, I thought they were better than that. Oh, okay. Maybe it's the later ones.
Is
Try
this
like
a
a
Brad or is
73,
this-
because that's
it
a
is a Brad.
that's a non-split window.
The Beetle is 0.48.
They're not very.
Yeah.
Okay.
You seem to forget, like, Volkswagens, because they have their pans, it's completely flat underneath those things. That's the reason why they're better aerodynamics than you think.
0.44 in the 73 VW bus.
I'm surprised it's less aerodynamic, because it's actually got smoother windows and stuff on it.
You realize we
It's like
have
the split-
nobody in the chat right now, and I don't see how that's possible.
Okay, I gotta go. We got company over.
All right, bye.
Oh,
All right, see you later. All right, catch you next weekend, probably. Goodbye.
Yeah.
It literally tells me that I have nobody in watching the live stream right now.
it said that when I jumped in, but Jesse was there.
Yeah, I know.
But-
unless Jesse left.
He may have, but I mean, like when I
No,
originally
the
jumped
thing
in,
is,
it was
I'm still
showing
running
0.
into the same issue that I ran into like the last 3 weeks of literally nobody in the chat. Which I don't mind. I mean, I do this not just for entertaining the people out in the chat. I do it to hang out with you guys too. But it's just like I don't understand why. I mean, did I just get shadow banned or what?
The shadow bans actually happen on YouTube.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, I know, but like I'm actually genuinely curious about that, because I know, like, on TikTok, yeah, it does. Actually,
TikTok, you can go.
Coastal Auto Reactions had a lot of issues with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, we do Jess's Crystal live streams, and we have issues where, people will be chatting in the chat, and literally it doesn't show up. They have to leave and come back, or they have to comment like an emoji or something, and then all of a sudden their chats, they'll show up and chat again.
Okay, see, that's actually a problem with that at the moment.
It's annoying.
With TikTok, because, well, also something else too. If you're not on the latest version of TikTok, that's becoming a problem too. And
well, it's probably because they updated the bug.
Well, also, if you're not on the latest operating system for your phone, that can cause issues too. That's what I've come across.
Did anybody see? Jess got a really, really huge piece. I think just yesterday. Not one that she's selling. This is like something she's adding to her personal collection. It is a slab that is literally like almost 2 feet across and like 1.5 feet tall. I'll go grab it real quick. It's absolutely massive.
Brings it back, just popped in the chat. Put my stuff down!
Nice.
Speaking of lives, this is why I said lives. This freaking thing's heavy. Oh, and I don't know how well this is going to pick up on the thing.
It's pretty.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's big.
It's huge. And then
That's
the
what
other
she
side
said.
the other side is not polished, so that's the unpolished side.
Yeah, that's cool.
This was a massive Geo at one point.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Huge. But yeah, this is her new statement piece. Apparently, I got to try to hang it on our freaking living room wall.
Yeah, mount it to a wood board. Mount the board to the wall.
Something, because it's got weight to it.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like, mounting.
Sorry, I'm listening.
Well, like mounting a big animal head. Same idea.
Yeah, It's got, I would say, I don't even know. It's heavier than a gallon of milk. So, I don't know. Absolutely huge. And I've got to not drop it.
Drop. Nah.
Tired. Very tired.
Lay down. Ugh. But anywho,
Anywho.
we were talking wiring again and got distracted again.
Because that's what happens. Right? Like, yeah, and I'm like, I won't be back in here for very long, but, commercial break right now, so that's why I'm here.
Do what?
Commercial break right now, so that's why I'm here.
Mm.
Oh. Hey, it's hockey, man. Just saying. I'm Canadian, so it's like law.
I don't know. No, I'm used to be NASCAR, but NASCAR fucked all that up.
Eh.
Can you imagine if hockey started changing all these fucking rules just to make fans happy? To the point to where it wasn't even hockey anymore?
Well, actually, they've done the opposite. So, like, hockey is one of the most. If you're a new fan to hockey, there's a lot of stuff that makes zero sense whatsoever. Compared to at least with racing, whatever else, it's easier to explain. Because even like,
I don't know. I've been a
well-
fan of hockey since I was a kid. I like watching it. I don't follow it anymore, but
well, like, because the one thing is with hockey, because even like, for example, you look at officiating in the regular season and officiating in the playoffs, and basically you can just about tear a guy's head off in the playoffs and not get called, but you just mildly slash a guy in the regular season and you get called for it every time. It's just a thing. And there's no explaining that to a new fan. They're just like, well, why does that happen? Like, I don't know. Just that's how it goes. It just lets shit go in the playoffs. You know? And there's a bunch of other odd rules that just don't make sense, and there's a lot of controversy when it comes to even the officiating in hockey too. It's very difficult if you're a new fan to get into hockey, to be honest.
well, I mean, that's NASCAR is not much better with that either because you don't even have like an off season or like whatever. They just sometimes one driver will get in trouble for doing this, and another driver will get nothing. You know, same freaking incident.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You have that issue too. In thing because like the one thing is there was actually a player on Carolina, I think it was Svechnikov, like he got a 1-game suspension for essentially taking his stick and just using it as a baseball bat against the guy's head.
Well,
Right?
That sounds not good.
Well, here's the problem though. People that have done similar have gotten like 5 and 6-game suspensions, and there's no rhyme or reason to the NHL with how they stand those out either. Like, it's just stupid.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Are you still on the road? Yeah, it sounds like it looks like you're still on the road.
Yeah, I'm actually down in Aiken, South Carolina until Monday morning.
Yeah.
Then I head back to New York.
When is your season over?
After Christmas.
Are you just going to be doing this forever now? I thought you were trying to find like a regular job.
I actually might stick with this as long as I can because when I was in the sawmill, I wanted to hurt and probably kill everyone that I worked with, and out here, I'm a lot more mellow.
Okay. Well, if it makes you fucking happy.
Yeah, I mean, especially like because it would kind of suck, if we just heard a headline or something like that you went on like a wild, killing spree or something. That would kind of suck,
Well, I was in a big forklift too, so that wouldn't have helped either. If I would have went out, I would have taken the sawmill with me.
back to the truck now and being mellow. That's good. Because,
Oh.
just,
Well, he's not in a truck. He does carnival shit now,
oh, well, it's like truck, only different.
I guess.
Which I actually got told by my boss to go get my CDL to start hauling the semi load. So
Well, there you go.
There you go. So he is driving truck, technically, just not
yet.
class 1 truck.
I drive the trucks on the lot.
Yeah, there you go. So he's still driving truck, just not big truck.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a big truck, just not over the road yet.
Yeah, I was actually hoping there was going to be more people in this live stream today because I was generally hoping to get some answers to some questions from other people that have done wiring and shit.
Actually, there's a group on Facebook that might be decent for that. I'm trying to think, actually. I mean, it's more of a cartoon group, but there are people in there that have done a lot of wiring stuff. So,
Yeah. I mean, the thing is I, on top of this harness, which was like, what, almost $1,000 for this harness. I am looking right now at my cart. Not looking at it. It's I have it on the thing. $68 just in wire. And that's not because like I'm buying big spools. That's literally just by the foot of what I've needed. Because there's so many different. It wouldn't make sense to buy a spool right now because of all the different colors that I'm looking at getting.
yeah, that's
But
fair.
I'm trying to get it to match as close to the OEM style harness as I can, or to match what's already there.
Well, actually, if you're here, when the next commercial break is up, I'll go back. If not, see ya. Have fun.
See ya.
Like,
So like, I mean, you've seen this big thing that I've been looking at.
yeah.
So that's the American Auto Wire, just the update series. I've pulled down the, what are they called? PDFs of their power window harness, power lock harness, and their rear defrost harness. Now, granted, none of these are actually a schematic. They don't have schematics. I went and actually asked a person at the company and said, "Hey, do you guys have like an actual wiring diagram of your guys' harness?" You know, because I'm trying to figure out, where stuff goes, what is what, and whatever. But then I also have like there we go. The sniper harness.
Yeah.
I have the Hyperspark harness. Now, I just saw, after I bought all this stuff, they now have, when you get the Hyperspark, they have a master harness that literally replaces the sniper harness as one big harness, instead of trying to graft the Hyperspark harness and the sniper harness together. It's already integrated as one harness. But it's $150 just for the harness.
Yeah.
I'm not going that way. I'm just going to splice the two the fuck together and do it myself. And at this point, it's like, I'm not going out and buying another freaking harness. Then I'll have two harnesses here that don't do me any good.
Yeah.
And then there's, like, I still have to figure out how I'm going to wire the alternator, even though this is the one-wire alternator, but I still have to find a way to wire the volt gauge into it. Whether or not the classic update kit has a thing to be able to hook up my volt gauge to it. And then there's also, I don't have the wiring to do, I did buy a relay kit for the cold case radiators, but it comes with one relay to wire both the fans to. The Holley Sniper can control both fans independently if I have two relays. And that one relay kit was almost $100. So I'm thinking, again, that's another harness that I'm probably not going to use, because I'm looking at getting a Busman, and I might just get the one and then run the power windows off of another one. But the Busman has 5 mini fuses. They are all a common power and a common ground, so they're already wired for ground and positive. Individually fused, so each relay gets its own fuse, and it's all in a watertight box. So literally, instead of like the way I have it now, the sniper has its own relay for the fuel pump. It's an independent relay. The cold case Raiders is going to have 2 relays. Right now, they're both would be independent. So that's 3 relays literally just floating around. Granted, I can mount them wherever, but they're going to just be mounted individually. Which is going, and they're the full size relays. You know what I mean? Like the bigger like what, inch and a half by inch and a half. And
Yeah,
they're like
they're
3
not
inches.
the little,
Yeah, they're like
one.
3 inches tall. The whole the whole block with the pigtails hanging out of it.
Yep.
The Busman one uses the micro ones, so they're smaller, and the whole box is only, like yay big.
You could tuck that.
I could tuck that a lot of
down
places. I could tuck that inside the car. I could tuck it up at a fender well or something inside the engine bay. I could hide it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that he was using, that the guy that I was looking at was using with it, is a power distribution. So it takes a single battery in, and then it puts out 3 to 4 full power outs. So it's a bus bar with 3 battery outs. 3 or 4 battery outs. Nice. That are fused. So also what they're not telling you is that, like, obviously they want a direct to power for the Sniper and the Hyperspark. They both want direct to power for their units. Well, direct to battery. That means that's a hot straight to the battery. No fuse. I think I'd want to put a fuse in there.
Yeah.
Because if something happens in that line between the Sniper and the battery, it's going to take out everything.
Yeah, or if you had a fuse there, it'd pop the fuse.
It'd pop the fuse before the battery and cut the power.
Yep.
But I have to do some more research to see if they want that, if I can do that. But both of those cost even more fucking money. I mean, the distribution block, the relay block, I think that was only like $30 or $40, but it doesn't come with any of the terminals, any of this. It's just the box. So still got to buy the fuses, still got to buy the relays, still have to buy all of the terminals.
Yeah.
And the watertight.
With it all.
I can get it all in bulk, yeah. But I can't buy it all as one kit.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm surprised you can't find one with, like, as
I can. I had another one that I was looking at, but I can't. I don't know if that one is a bust version or not, or if I gotta individually wire every single one.
Yeah.
I kind of like the bus because then it's only got 1 wire going in. It's going to have 5 wires coming out. Well, it's going to have 2 wires going in, 5 wires going out, and everything else is going to be tucked up behind it.
Yeah.
So you're going to have your positive to the positive bus bar, your negative to the negative bus bar. That's your 2 wires going out. You're going to have your power leads coming out off of all the relays to whatever they're going to run to. You're going to have a jumper cable on the backside that runs from the non-bust side of the fuse. So one side of the fuse connects to the bus bar. The other side of the fuse does not, because obviously that's going to go to the individual relay. And then you have, you'll run a jumper from there to the whatever you're going to use as your positive or negative for the relay. Depends on if you put the fuse on the negative side or the positive side.
Yeah.
But anyway, you're going to have your fuse, your jumper from the fuse to the relay terminal. And then you're going to have your signal wire to the terminal.
Ooh.
So your signal wire is normally, yeah, and so you're going to have what? How did he do it? I think he only had, did he have a signal wire going in? Yeah, he had to have a signal wire going in. I would think. Yeah, you had to have a signal wire going in, whether it's a ground signal or a positive signal. So yeah, I don't know. They had a way that he was doing it. I watched it. I have to go watch it again probably before I commit to anything.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so there's that, and I might do a second one then for the power. The power window, I don't know. There was the new Relics power window system that still uses the classic switch for the center console.
Yeah.
And he uses a modern, actuator motor and everything.
Okay.
But that was like $400 to $500 for that whole setup. I just need to get something so that way I can keep the driver's side window up for now. I don't even give a shit if they work right away. Just need to be able to put it back together and have the window stay up. So that way I can get the car running and park it outside.
Yeah.
I can always, if the power windows is going to be a separate circuit, and it was always a separate circuit from the original harness anyway, then I can always add that in later. But like the rear defrost, I want to add that in now because that does follow the main harness for some of it. It actually was woven into the main harness on the one that my original harness. So I'd like to get that integrated in so I don't have to deal with it. Dealing with the fans, the fuel pump, and that stuff, that needs to get all taken care of today. I mean, now while I have this all apart, the charging ports that I want to put into possibly the glove block, the glove block, the blah blah blah, the glove box, and the center console box. I want to put charging ports in both those locations. That's got to get wired in. That's a custom. That's not obviously not stock.
Yeah.
But I want to put that in so that way I can charge phones or whatever. In a hidey space to where it's not like, hello, here I am. That I got to figure out now, and I got to order the wiring for that now. And not to mention, like I said, how am I going to run the fan relays? Where am I going to run the fan relays? The other thing I want to do is I want to shorten the sniper harness itself, the stock harness. Because I'm not sure if you've seen that harness laid out. It's got a lot more lead length than I need for my car. And they're pre-terminated.
Yeah,
so it's not like they
added
just...
a bunch.
Say it again?
What? Like they added a bunch of wire to make sure it reach.
Yeah, for whatever application, depending on wherever you wanted to put it. So basically, what I want to do is I want to put stuff where I want it. And either I'm going to have to extend wires or shorten wires to make sure I don't have an excessive amount of loose wire, or not be able to run something where I want it to because I don't have a wire long enough for it. I'm still concerned whether or not the coil wire I have to go from my distributor to the coil is going to be long enough. My original one was only 12 inches. That would have gotten it directly to the firewall behind the distributor.
Yeah.
And if I want to hide it somewhere else, because again, the whole point of throwing this sniper in is to not look like I've done anything. So anything
try
that's
to make it
extra,
pop.
anything that's extra that you wouldn't have normally seen in a TA, I want to hide. I want to make it look like it's not supposed to be there. Still got to fix the mess of when they pulled out the AC, and whether or not I'm going to throw AC in the car eventually. Right now, I'm probably going to keep the suitcase and everything where it's at. I just need to get the. I figured it out. If I eliminate, there is. So I found a wiring diagram. Not great image quality here. Found a wiring diagram. This is just for the HVAC system for the AC cars. So this is the AC heat wiring. That's all that's on this paper. If I eliminate the wire coming out of the switch on the dash, there's a green wire that comes out of there, and it runs out to a thermal switch, which then turns on the fans. It turns on the idle stop solenoid on the carburetor, and it obviously turns on the AC compressor.
Okay.
If I eliminate that one, I don't need anything after that for the AC harness. I can just remove it instead of having them wires dangle out there. So I don't need anything that's gonna. And the thing is, if I remove all of that stuff, it doesn't affect the heater fan.
Nice.
So there are stuff that led back to the heater fan to turn the heater fan on, but by removing that, I'm not removing anything that would prevent the heater fan from working normally. It's just obviously I'm just going to literally depin that from the harness. And there was a ground that I can depin that went to that. So it was the dark green and the brown that went to that plug. And there is a green and light black that also went to that plug. So I can eliminate that whole plug by eliminating the ground that came off of the blower relay, and eliminating the green that comes out of the AC selector switch. I have to leave the yellow, which was the feed that came in, and I have to leave the brown because the brown is what turns it on and off the fan. Because that goes over to the heater, to the fan, the blower switch, to determine whether or not. So it's funny because the bottom side of that switch is all the vent doors. That's the vacuum switch for all of the vent doors. That's actually what controls. So your hot cold. That controls where the door's swinging for that. Obviously, does not matter with the AC. The fan would still come on and off wherever it would if it was in the AC position or whatever. I'm just eliminating any power going to feed any of the AC components. And eliminating that whole second half of the harness that ran to the whatever. The only thing I'd have to modify is the blower motor's full speed gets a direct power. It used to get a direct power from the alternator. So it would go straight from the back of the alternator straight to the blower, the blower relay. That went through the AC harness. Obviously, that part of the AC harness will no longer exist. I'd have to run an individual line from the blower motor relay, and I think I'm going to run it down the backside of the engine and hook it up to the starter's positive post. It'd be the same power source as the alternator.
Yeah.
Because it's a direct power. It's a direct battery source. Because it goes from the Goes from the battery down to that positive post to power the starter, but it would also jump up to the blower motor. Well, the blower motor relay. Because everything else goes through the resistor. I think. Let me double check that. No, actually, it goes into the relay. The resistor's different. All the other speeds are determined by the resistor. And apparently that one, the blower motor is never off. As long as the car is on, the blower motor is always at least in low. I didn't know it never had an off.
Nice.
But that's just something I freaking learned by doing it. So I have to eliminate that part of the harness, the AC part of the harness. Get rid of it. I have to completely... Now, this is a harness that didn't come in that kit. So basically, I'm using my stock harness, finding out where it got its power from, finding out where I can get that same power from the new harness, and replace all of the wires and terminals. I'm going to try to keep all of the connectors, unless the connectors are cheap enough to just replace the connectors. But it has some pretty... And if I can find a way that the relay works, I might replace the relay and the connector that goes to that. But, because that's a 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a 5-pin relay. I just don't know what all the pins do. Because if I can upgrade it to a more modern style relay, that I can find a lot easier. Because that relay itself, I think, was $75 online. Just for the relay. So if that relay is bad, I'm kind of a screwed pooch.
Yeah.
That and the resistor. The blower motor resistor. Yeah, that's another. That's actually easier to find than the relay. The other relay that's a pain in the ass to find is my relay for the rear window. The rear defrost relay.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know if I can replace that with a regular relay. I think that's a timed relay. So, I don't know.
Timed or
Huh?
timed or temp.
That would be timed. Because it would, how would it find to get a temp signal from?
Yeah.
Because I have the schematic. I have the wire tracing for it. It literally gets it gets a power. It gets a keyed ignition power, a ground. Yeah, keyed ignition power, a ground. I'm trying to figure out which one's which. Okay, that's the relay there. Okay, so pink ignition ground into the relay. It's got a black ground into the relay. It's got the power out to no, that's battery power in. That's the relay there. That's battery out. That's the ground. Okay, this is the relay. So it goes from battery into the relay. It's got a ground. It's got a... That's from the switch. Maybe the switch is where the timer's at. I'm not sure if the timer's in the switch or in the relay. But yeah, because then it comes out of the relay, it has a long wire that runs back through the harness to the driver's side, because the relay and the switch are on the passenger side. The relay's like right in the middle. The switch is like right in the middle, but the relay's on the driver's side of the glove box opening. And then it runs it back all the way across the dash, down through the bottom of the door, the brain words.
Door jam.
No, below the door jam. The kick panel, not kick panel, rocker panel. So the gutter above the rocker panel. Down through that, up over the wheel well in the back, and then up the front part of the wheel well in the back, and then straight up into the plug there. It's on the driver's side. But yeah,
Timer might.
Huh?
Timer might be in the switch.
Yeah, but then again, where do I find a new switch if that goes?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, granted, I can just use a regular toggle, but I kind of want the dash to still look a lot factory. It's like the new headlight switch came with a new knob. I'm still stealing my old knob and throwing it in the new headlight switch.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't want a nice billet aluminum switch. It's not going to match anything else in the dash. Maybe if I was doing a custom dash plate and shit instead of using the machine turn, or if I had the wood grain dash.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just a lot of, like I said, it's like I have a lot of hand drawn schematics. This one down here is for that power, USB power. And trying to figure out where things are at. This is this is the HVAC mess that I drew before I found this was literally just copying off of what I found on my harness.
Nice.
So basically I tore my harness apart and traced where all the wires went. My old harness. For the different systems that I was trying to replicate. Because basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to replace the wires in the terminals. So I had to figure out how long each of the wires were, what gauge they were, you know, what style terminals the plugs used, whether they were male, female, Packard 56, or are they the what was the other kind? Is it PACCON terminals? It's like a blade, and the other one has like the blade is the male, and the female has like these two like U's, and the blade flips in like this.
Oh yeah.
Whereas the Packard 56 has like a paddle and a blade, and the blade fits into the paddle. That's a Packard 56. And then like again, then you got the freaking the Holley Sniper stuff, which uses a completely different style of terminal and the way that they do stuff, because they're all weather tight. And I was also thinking maybe disassembling all of the terminals that terminate inside the engine bay and switching it to that Holley style connector, because they're all watertight. But then again, the GM stuff has been just fine for how long?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have too many new style terminals that would be inside the engine bay, except for like, you got the horn, the lights. Anything running to an engine component is all going to be Sniper at this point. I have the brake stuff, like the stuff that connects to the brake system. There's like 2 or 3 wires for that, and then there's the wires that run up to the wiper motor and the horns. So lights, horns, brake booster, and wiper motor, and the blower motor stuff. That's it. That's under the engine bay. That's going to be still stock. Everything else is going to be Holley Sniper, or the cold case radiator stuff. So maybe I won't have anything to change there. I don't know. And I started recording the video for the wiring harness the other day, and I was going over the dash harness, and that's when I stopped. And I'm like, wait a minute. Where is this? Where is that? And I also had to figure out, okay, wait, I need to run this, and this into this harness for the dash stuff. I mean, for the Sniper stuff, the ignition hot wires and different things. And where was I going to run that? Where, I also got to figure out about running the the fuel sending unit, because that's not stock. Plus running the wires all the way down the side of the car for the fuel relay. You know, am I going to integrate in the system? Am I going to put a plug I can disconnect somewhere instead of, because the Holley system literally has one line that runs to power the fuel pump straight from the Holley Sniper itself, from the pin connector. There's not a break in that line all the way back. How much of a pain in the ass that's going to be if I have to work on anything? I want to be able to disconnect that somewhere. Whether it's disconnect it back at the, you know, back at the back of the car, which they don't give you a connector for that. I mean, they give you a connector. Actually, no, I lie. They do have a connector right at the tail pan. But there's not a connector anywhere where there is a connector in the stock harness. So, like, okay, so I'm going to have a connector running all the way from the engine, all the way back to that connector at the tail pan? No, I'm going to want a connector somewhere near the firewall to be able to disconnect the sniper harness from, you know, to be able to leave the sniper harness on the engine and disconnect it from everything else. I don't want freaking shit running all the way in, you know, through a firewall without a connection point. If I have to pull the engine or something, it means pulling everything off of the engine and leaving it on the car, instead of being able to just disconnect the connectors and leaving the components. You know, that's just the way I think. I don't. If I have to pull something, I don't want to have to yank a whole fucking harness off of it.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, I want them to be subsystems. You know, with a connection point between them, so I can unconnect it.
Yeah, everything unhooked that way.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks because the dash harness, for me to be able to take the dash out, I have to literally either disconnect everything from the dash or I have to pull the fuse block. There's no connector in between the dash and the fuse block. The main harness is, it's the same way it was in factory too. There's no, you either pull the harness off of the dash to get the dash out, or you unbolt the freaking, that half of the fuse panel. You know, you unbolt the bulkhead.
Yeah.
It's the only way you can do it. Which is another reason why I want to do all this shit now, because I don't want to have to pull that freaking harness back out. So whatever I need to do to that fuse panel, to whatever I need to do to that main harness, I want to do that now, because everything else I can disconnect. That part of the harness I cannot disconnect. Without either A, removing the whole dash, or B, removing the harness and the dash. Because there's no other way to do it. And I'm not sure if you've ever freaking, because that harness is literally integrated into the dash. It actually tucks into the dash with clips.
Yeah.
It's not part of, like, a lot of cars, the harness stays on the car and the dash comes off. This harness, the harness is clipped into the dash.
Yeah, my truck is too.
I know. Well, I mean, I can take the dash cover off of the truck and leave the inner structure of the dash attached to the truck, or I could take the whole thing off.
Oh, mine is, you gotta take the whole dash, and the wiring comes with it.
Yeah.
It's
a lot of the other cars, like from the era of the TA, had a metal inner dash, and the dash was just a cover, and so all the wiring stayed on the metal part of the dash. The TA dash isn't like that. The TA dash, I guess, is more like a modern dash, where the dash comes off and everything's attached to the dash, and then you're just left with this. There's nothing behind the dash. It's literally just the firewall.
Yeah, my truck is a 88 to 98 Chevy, and you take 7 bolts out of the top of the dash and 2 big bolts on the side, and you just roll the dash back.
Yeah, I have 4 or 5 bolts across the top, which most of them I need to replace whatever the screws go into because they're busted. And then I have the 2 on the side, and then I have like 2 or 4 down at the bottom where it meets the floor in the center on the transmission hump. Because there's a couple down there too. And then the whole dash swings away, which I get to do. I had to replace the thermostat today because Thursday I went to work and it never got above 130 degrees on the thermostat. I mean, on the temperature gauge. But I replaced that. Temperature comes up. I still have no heat. Oh, very little heat. Which I'm assuming, and I thought maybe it was like the vacuum doors weren't moving. Which that still might be the case, but it's not because of the vacuum leak on the engine side. Because I went and checked. I thought maybe that was the vehicle that I had busted the one-way check ball for the vacuum lines that run into the. It's not that, because I have that one's fine. It's the TA that's missing it. The TA is missing that little vacuum ball, which I have one to replace it now.
Right.
So I still got to take that whole dash out, take apart the heater box, and figure out what's going on with the heater box. It's a few things. It's either my heater core is filled with sediment from that issue that I'm having with the coolant system.
Yeah.
Because I've got corrosion in the coolant system, and it could have settled in the heater core. But I'm pretty sure I've back flushed that heater core and it ran clean. Maybe the bottom cells are freaking flooded with sediment. I don't know. The heater doors aren't working. Or the compartment where the heater core is completely filled with stuffing that the mouse shoved in there. Because I've had evidence that there was mice in the truck while I had it parked.
Yeah.
Or the mice nest is keeping the doors from moving. I'm thinking there's a mice nest in my my heater control box. Or whatever they call that.
When you turn your heater on, do you smell?
Not
does it
anymore.
Smell at all?
Not anymore.
No. There might be a nest blocking something.
It doesn't take much. It just I've had that wadding, that stuffing that's on the firewall. I found it inside my glove box. I found it on the floor. I mean, they could very easily have crawled their way into the heater box and made a nest in there.
Oh yeah, usually.
So it's a matter of pulling it apart and figuring out if that's it. Hopefully that's it. Hopefully it's not the heater core again. You know, I did put more vinegar in the system, and I'm gonna let it sit. I'm thinking about either throwing some water and CLR in there and letting it sit for 24 hours and flushing it out. I gotta do something because it's ridiculous. It keeps coming back. I could flush the whole system clean in a couple months later. Even put fresh coolant in it, and it comes back like mud again. So.
Yeah, that's not good.
Well, I don't know what to do with it either. I don't know what's causing it. But yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, that's, and the hard part with finding all this stuff is finding places where I don't have to buy bulk. I don't mind buying bulk of the little stuff where it's like $10 for like 50 connectors or whatever. But
yeah.
I don't need 25, I don't need 100 feet of one color of wire. You know, I need like 6-7 feet of this color, 7-8 feet of that color, you know, maybe only a foot or two of this color. And finding places that sell wire by the foot in the colors that I'm looking for. Really makes you wish you still had a Radio Shack, because Radio Shack used to have that wall of spools of wire where you could just buy, you know, lengths of it.
There's a Radio Shack in Kings, PA, so.
It still exists?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. How far away is that from me?
Road trip.
Right? Might even be more cost effective than, I mean, it was like I have a cart on here from, I think it's LS something or other, Because they're one of the few places that I found that would, what is it? It's, oh, no. No, that's not it. It's Amazon. lswiring.com. 83, it's not 83 items. Each foot, they consider it a separate item. I think my dog farted. $67.40 for 83 feet of wire of different colors. Everything from 12 gauge down to 18 gauge. Some of it's 12 feet, 1 foot, 4 feet, 6 feet. But yeah. I have, and that's not even connectors or terminals or anything. That's just wire.
Lovely.
And that's but the thing is I need to modify that because some of that was what I was looking at to doing the harness for the power windows, which I need to take that stuff off because I think I'm just gonna deal with the power windows later. I don't know if I still have, like, I think I thought I pulled the full power window harness out of a car from the junkyard, including the door parts and the, you know, the rubber booties and all of that stuff, because I don't have any of that stuff. I don't have the little thing that runs from the door to the main body.
Yeah.
So I still need to get that stuff. I still need to drill those holes in the frickin' in the door, and I think the one door has it, because the one door was a power window door. The driver's side door, that gray one that I have, that was a power window door. The passenger side is still the stock hand crank door. Pretty sure. So I have to, like, I need to find all that stuff. Because even if I think I went to the new relics or whatever, I don't think it comes with the rubber boots and stuff. I'd still have to find those. I mean, I would probably think that pretty much almost any accordion door thing would work as long as the plugs fit through it. Or did I do that already? No, I did that for the Nova. I put those in the Nova because I ran speaker wires through them when I put the speakers in the door. I drilled the hole through the door and through the body to run the speakers through that accordion, the speaker wire.
Nice.
I did it right. I didn't just have them like hanging from the, you know, the kick panel into the door panel, you know, from the inside with the wire hanging, you know, loose and free. I did it right. I generally tend to do shit right, and it bites me in the ass because it sends me down these freaking, as I said in the chat the other day, rabbit holes.
Oh yeah.
Just fucking chase it because it starts out like, I'm just gonna do this, and then, you know, of course I can't just half-ass it. I've got to do it right, which means that I'm freaking, you know, traveling this way, that way. Why is it not having us? Oh, did it have a spot?
I'm gonna do the 20-minute job that's now taking me 15 hours because I don't like the way that it went the first time I tried it, so I'm doing it.
Yeah, for a while there, we weren't even on screen, and I don't know why.
Nice. Whoops.
Yeah, it was just our voice, apparently. Maybe. I don't know. Oh, when I went back and looked at the footage. But yeah, and I still have, you know, how my wiring the fan relays. I mean, a lot of that stuff's pretty simple, but it's a matter of getting the wire. Like, so if I get that junction box, I've got to know where I'm putting that junction box. I need to, so I'm going to have to change the direction I was going to do the videos. I'm going to have to stop doing the wiring part and just do a video about where I'm mounting shit. Because I'm not going to know how much wire I need or what I'm going to need to lengthen or shorten until I know where I'm putting stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
And I didn't even think about that. I should have. Like, right now, the only thing that I have installed is the sniper unit itself is sitting on top of the intake. I put the fuel block off plate, the fuel pump block off plate. I put that on only because of the fact that I was throwing the rest of the accessories on, and I realized that once I put those accessories on, that area is going to be a bitch to get to. Cause
yeah, might as well.
Yeah, so I might as well
Bolt
throw
it
it
on.
on while the power steering pump wasn't there. I don't even know if I'm keeping that power steering pump or getting a new one, because that, as far as I know, that one squeals like a pig. And I don't know if it's because it was low fluid or if it was because it just squeals.
Yeah.
So I might replace that, but that was like $100 and some for the power steering pump.
Hmm.
And that's not even for like a fancy one. That's just for a stock appearing one. So yeah, I still got to replace that eventually. I'm not worried about it right now. Again, that's a can do it later. Doesn't need to get done now. Yeah, I had to go out and go buy bolts because if you remember correctly, that had a flex fan on it with that like 2.5-inch spacer with the bolts that ran all the way through down into the pulley, and I had nothing to attach the pulley to because obviously I can't throw in a 3-inch long freaking bolt when there's no fan there anymore. I thought about running the fan anyway, just leaving the fan there. I might still do that. Do the electric fans inside the but I don't know if I'm running the stock fan shroud. Because technically it's got its own fan shroud. I want to see if I can modify the stock fan shroud to still be there. So it looks like it doesn't have dual electric fans underneath of it. But I don't know. I don't know if it'll fit. It all depends on whether or not I can make it work. Because that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
If I could throw the stock fan shroud in there and still make it look like it's, you know, got factory radiator and set up in it. So yeah, that's the only thing. I don't have the starter in it. Oh no, I threw the alternator in there. I don't have it wired. I threw it on the car. That actually looks really nice. The other than the power whatever brand it is, Power Master. What is it? It's a Power Master Performance starter. I mean, alternator. And I think it's 150 amp alternator. So way more than I freaking need to run anything in that car right now. But I don't think the fuel injection uses that much. So we got the alternator in, but I still need to figure out where I'm throwing the coil, the control, the ignition control box, the fuses, relays for all of that stuff. You know, because right now I just have the stock. I just have the, you know, the individual relays. If I want to go with that box kit, I need to figure out where I'm going to put that. I'm probably going to use a stock grommet location to feed the wires in and out of the firewall for all of the sniper stuff. Which there is a grommet above the fuse block that used to run the tack out through. To the tack input. And used to go through there. So I might just acquire that as my grommet through for the sniper stuff. It's like right behind the brake booster. So I'll just run it up the backside behind the brake booster and into it that way. That way I'm not adding a new hole. And I'm not trying to use a hole that was being used for something else. But yeah. And by the way, talking this all out loud to somebody else really fucking helps, and because like I thought I was really more confused than I actually am, but I think I figured out a lot of it already and just didn't realize I figured it out. Because you're just like when you're
Oh
thinking
yeah.
about this all to yourself, you're just everything's all jumbled, and when you talk to somebody else, you have to lay it out in a formulated plan, and it's like, oh wait, I did have a plan for that.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the stuff for the rear window, get that figured out. The HVAC stuff I got to get figured out now. The deciding what I'm going to use for USB charging and whatever, because right now I have a it's not a it's based off of a cigarette lighter port, but it's just a car power port.
Yeah.
You know, the aftermarket ones that you can buy. It works just like a cigarette lighter, just doesn't have a
Yep.
cigarette lighter. I have one of those in the center console. I've ran that all the way back in 2014. Wired that up way back then, before I even put the 400 in. But I think I want to change that. I think I want to have that power port, but also an actual like flush mounted USB port, like towards the top of the towards the top of it.
Yeah.
Um, that way, if in case I have papers or something in there, then I don't have to worry about digging through to try to find that power port, because the power port's all the way down at the bottom.
Yeah.
I used to have the power port, and then I had like a 4 USB thing that I had double sided taped to the top, and then it would plug into that
Yeah.
power port. But I think I'm just gonna go with just having that power port as another place adapter to put a like a car based appliance charger in, like like the um tire pump or whatever that uses those jacks into there, and then have actual dedicated USB set up where it gets its own power from the car source, and then have one of those also inside of the inside or around the glove box on the front passenger side. Power options everywhere. I just want to be able to hide anything that I have plugged in. I don't want to have
Yep.
wires dangling out where people can see them. I think it's frustrating in the cars that I have now. And it is a modern car. It literally had wire USB stuff built into it. But I think it's even more annoying seeing a classic car with car chargers hanging all over the dash and the seats, and especially at car shows.
Yeah.
That pisses me off at car shows. I like the fact when we were up at Trip City at Dayton, Ohio, I had
Yeah.
that port already in the car then, and I had my phone charging in the center console. Nobody knew because it was all hidden. It literally just plugged into the USB port in the center console, tucked my phone into the center console with all the wires, and closed the lid, and never know I was charging a phone while I was sitting there waiting, showing off the car. So yeah, there's that. The HVAC blower motor system, because that hasn't worked since we did it has not worked since the 40 actually no, I don't know if that ever worked. And I think part of it is because of the shit that they had ripped out. Because again, it got its power straight from the alternator through no, I lie. It has not worked since we did the 403 swap, the 400 swap. And I think part of that is because again, we pulled a lot of that out when we went to put the 400 in, and I didn't realize that big red cable probably went to the alternator went for the blower motor, which it's how it got all of its power. That didn't that still seems weird to me, but that's what the schematics say.
Yeah.
It got its power directly from the alternator. The switch inside the car didn't. All it did was complete the relay. But anyway, so HVAC, rear defrost, and that extra accessory power line. I need to get all the connectors, plugs, terminals, whatever's, wires to run those. I need to figure out whatever I'm doing with the relays, whether I get that relay block, which I'm pretty leaning towards getting that. And all the connectors and whatever I need for that. Because that would, that takes up a lot less space than if I don't do the power windows. That's at least 3 relays. And I can also then plug in the headlights through that as well. If I go with a modern style headlight. Because I don't think right now their headlights go through a relay. And the more modern style, at that point then whatever would send power to the headlights, I would run that to the relay. So when you throw on the headlights, it would turn on the relay for the relay, which would then power the headlights. Which I think I'd need 2 relays for that then, wouldn't I? I'd need a relay for the high beams and a relay for the low beams. I would think. And that would take up all the relays, I think, in that box, because it'd be 1 for the fuel, 2 for the fans, and then 2 for the headlights. And it's a 5 relay box.
Yeah, you could also wire up the headlights, because that's got, the 4 headlights?
Mm-hmm.
Do they all come on when you go to high beam?
Mm-mm. Only the outer ones. Inner ones are on for low beam.
You could wire that up for all 4 to come on.
On high.
On high. It'd give you 1, double the light.
Yeah, I never understood why low beams turn off when you turn the high beams on. It's like, what? So because I have the high beams on, I don't want to see what's close to me either?
Yeah.
It made no sense. It's like, I can understand having the high beams turn off when you have low beams on. Because then, you're obviously not trying to blind people, which is why you turn off the high beams.
Yeah.
But I also want to go to a much brighter headlight. But I don't plan on driving that car too much at night, but still, that car would look sick with all 4 headlights lit up at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
And eventually, I think I'm going to go with LED rear tail lights. But for right now, the new harness comes with all brand new freaking sockets and bulbs for the rear tail lights. Well, not new bulbs. I have to get new bulbs, but all brand new sockets. Which I had issues with my sockets being corroded and things. Yeah, it comes all brand new sockets for everything. Every light, every wire termination in that system, it has brand new ones.
Nice.
Yeah, it is nice. Except for, like they said, except for the parts of the harness that it doesn't come with. So it doesn't come with the HVAC harness. It doesn't come with the power window, power lock harness. It doesn't come with the... Those are all harnesses you have to buy separately. It doesn't come with the rear defrost harness. You can get them. You can get them because, like, the rear defrost harness was like $45. Mine is almost better to get that than it is to buy new wires for my existing part.
Yeah.
Because it does come with new connectors, new terminals, new wire. But I don't like the fact that I would still end up splicing in another connector because it runs that green wire just like the sniper thing. It runs the green wire all the way down without a break in it. So if you got to pull the dash harness or whatever, you have to pull the whole driver's side of that car apart to get that part of the harness out. Instead of having a disconnect, it runs it straight back.
Better to pop a disconnect in right over.
The factory one has one right there underneath of the driver's side, right underneath of the steering wheel. There's a plug right there. There's also a plug back at the rear window. So there's a separate line that runs from the dash to the back window that can be unplugged at both ends.
Yeah.
But their harness, their wiring, their one does not run with the main dash harness like the factory one does. Like that rear defrost is in every car, regardless of whether your car had rear defrost or not. All the plugs and everything were already in the harness.
Yeah. Why would they make 3 different harnesses for?
Well, they did. Like the power window harness, the main power for it. Actually, no, it's not the main power for the power windows. It is one of the pigtails for the power window harness is built into the harness. The other one, you have to use a jumper into the fuse panel and the rest of the harness. But one of the plugs for the power windows is there. So same with some other stuff. There's plugs that are in the harness, but the actual harness isn't part of the harness. But other than the purple wire that runs to the rear defrost, and obviously the wire that's in the window itself, and the relay and switch, the rest of the harness is built into the factory harness. So obviously, if you did not have that rear defrost, you didn't get the switch, you didn't get the relay, or the wire that ran to the back of the car, or the obviously the stuff inside the glass. But the majority of that harness was the wire was part of the harness, the factory harness. Power locks, power windows were their own separate harness that plugged into junction points in the harness. The power illumination and something else for the radio was part of the harness, but the rest of it was not. That's their own separate harness, which I have to replace that too. I just realized today, I did not realize how much wire. There is 17 feet. Now, granted, there's 4 wires of this, but there is 17 feet for each wire for the rear speaker. Because it's got to run across the front of the dash, down to the floor, across the back of the floor, up the back seat, and then there's the one that is closer. That one's probably less than 17, but the one on the driver's side, that's a 17-foot run to go across the back of the TA, down to the floor, across the passenger side up to the front, up the kick panel, across to the center of the car, and then down to the radio.
Hey.
Now, my front ones are less than 3 feet.
Yeah.
Because I have them in the center console. The factory one would have ran up to the underside of the dash. Right in the center. Because it had the single center speaker.
Yeah.
I don't. I have 2, 5-inch speakers on either side of the center console. At the footwell. Because there is no place to run it in the door panels, because I have the deluxe door panels with the map pockets. And also if I would have gotten if I do factory power windows, that's where the window regulator is. The power window regulator is right there where you would put your speakers in any other GM car. Where I put the speakers in my Nova. I can't put them down in the kick panels because I have an AC car and there's vents there.
Yep.
With a non-AC car, you could put them in the kick panels. So there's only one other place I could put, and I don't have the provisions in the dash to put them at each of the top corners. The outside corners.
Yeah.
So the only other place that I could put them was on the center console on either side of it. So I did a nice little clean install, put them on both sides of that, and run wires up to the radio. And then I had the 2 6x9s in the rear package tray. And eventually I'd like to have 2 10-inch subs or 8-inch subs in the trunk. Nothing big, just enough to give a little thumpy thump. So That's a project for a later. I have not done a sound system since 2012. It's been almost 10 years since I did a sound system, because the last sound system I did was in the Cavalier. That was a freaking nice system though. That was 212. I think they were almost. They were huge. They were bigger than 12-inch. There were some massive earthquakes. Literally took up the whole space from the trunk, from the quarter, top of the quarter panel to the trunk floor. I tucked them both in the rear quarters on the outsides, facing inside to the car. Along with a 1200 watt amp and a capacitor. Yeah. Aftermarket stereo. Replaced the speakers and the doors. Yeah, it was a nice system. The one I did before that was the Jeep, and then the one before that was the Nova. Oh, and I did the TA. The TA had all brand new. I think I reused I reused the factory wires from the dash back to the back, but I rewired the front speakers and put a head unit in it, and that's about it. I didn't do subwoofers. The Nova was nice. The Nova had a Kenwood head unit. Had two. Were they J Audios? I don't remember what they were, but they were a mid and a high. So they had like tweeters, directional tweeters, with a mid range speaker in both of the front door panels. Just above the handrest on the back seats. So you got the whatever the panels are that went behind the driver's side door, that you had a little armrest with the ashtrays in them. Right above them were two 5x7s. And then running, I forget it was series or parallel, but I piggybacked a second set of 6x9s left and right, were connected with the 5x7. So the 5x7 and the 6x9s were connected as your rear audio. And I had the 6x9s, which had a low, a mid, and a high built into them. The 5x7s had a mid and a high. The 6x9s had a low, mid, and high built into them. And they were in the rear package tray. And then I had the two 8-inch subs with a 1000-watt amp and capacitor in the trunk. Yeah. You open up the trunk and both the front doors, and you had yourself a concert. I would just pull it up to whatever we were doing, back it up to wherever we were hanging out, and open the doors in the trunk. Turn on the radio. It was nice. I got my first flash, titty flash that way.
There you go.
Back in 2007, Tool came to Reading. And I had the Nova. That was my daily driver at the time. And we were in the parking garage next to the one next to the courthouse. And we were all obviously stuck in the parking garage after the show. And of course, I'm blaring fucking Tool. I mean, I had a Tool concert, and freaking nice sound system in that car, and I had Tool blaring. And two chickies in a BMW in front of me pop out of the fucking sunroof, fucking whipping their freaking shit out, freaking right in front of me, and we're telling me to, because I had the windows down, freaking stereo was cranked, and obviously I'm in a parking garage. That shit's fucking, you're hearing that shit on the other side of the parking garage, And,
it's echoing through.
Oh yeah, it was fucking awesome. I was still shy then. I mean, it's not like I'm not shy now, but I was really shy then.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, that was freaking awesome. But I mean, people in a fucking BMW. You know, they're in a different. And it wasn't like an old beat up, but it was a brand new freaking BMW for the time. Tinted windows, you know, it had nice rims. You know, it was somebody's expensive toy. That was fun. I was 21, 22, somewhere around there.
Oh yeah.
What do you want, doggo? No, it's not a doggo. It's a cat. You've got balls. Dog must be sleeping. Because the cats normally hang out upstairs when the dog's awake and out. So either the dog's sleeping or he snuck past the dog. But I don't know. Meow. Just make a bunch of noise. That's great for you. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. I've still got to figure out all this. It's kind of what I've been doing all week. Like I said, I started doing the dash wiring, and the more I got into it, to realize that, like, no, I need to tackle some of this stuff that I thought I was going to be able to tackle later. I need to tackle it now. Because if I don't tackle it now, I'm going to have to be freaking dealing with the wiring while laying on my back inside the car. We all know we all know how fun that is.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I don't have any seats in the car but the driver's side seat, but most of the freaking shit would be needing to be done is underneath of the driver's side of the freaking dashboard.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't want to do that. I'd rather do all that shit while it's outside the car and I've got all the freaking room in the world. So yeah, no, I want to mess with whatever I need to mess with on the main harness while it's sitting on my freaking on the hood of my car, because it's either sitting on the hood or right now it's back in the box. But I have a table out there. I have the hood. Yeah, it's I don't have any room to, like, a lot of people say they lay it out on the ground. I don't have that kind of room.
You have that option.
No, that garage is too tiny for that. Not with that freaking car. I mean, I have the car backed all the way up so that the rear of the car is up against the garage door. I cannot fit between the garage door and the back of that car. Because I pushed it all the way back when I was doing the dash.
Yeah.
If I need room to get behind, I just open up the door. Now, granted, that garage is easy enough to roll that car around in the garage myself.
Yeah.
Throw it neutral, roll it. As long as I'm not turning the steering wheel, I'm good. As soon as I'm turning the steering wheel, it's like I put on the brakes.
Oh yeah, always.
Yeah, because the locking rear. That cat's gonna get his butt in trouble. I can hear it. Dog's gonna wake up and there's gonna be a freaking fur fly out in the living room. You missed it. Were you here when I showed off Jess's new crystal piece?
Yeah.
Okay, you were in here already? It's freaking huge.
Yeah, you were going to grab it. All I could think of was, you're going to bring it back. Jeff's going to pop in the chat. Put my stuff down.
Well, she knows I need to have it anyway to be able to hang it up. We figured out what we're going to do. I'm going to run whatever I'm going to attach it to. There's a wood, a piece of wood that runs across ways in the closet, and I'm just gonna screw all the way through the wall into that.
There you go.
Because that's obviously mounted to studs. I don't think there's a stud in the middle of that closet wall. It's not a closet that was put in with the house. It was somebody's addition. And I think they just ran a post from floor to ceiling in the corner, and then ran either drywall or plywood from that post to the wall.
Yeah.
And then framed out a doorway and filmed that in. But yeah, I don't think it was 2x4 framed. It's not a very big closet. So it's just a storage space. But yeah, I don't know.
Boss has.
Huh?
Let's see. The boss has 1, 2, 3 rides that need fixed. He wants to frame and insulate the shop walls. build a new shop, like build a new building.
I
We've got
have
the army.
to.
Yeah.
So I was looking into my garage. Um, I when I was doing the dash, okay, I had the heater going, and as soon as I turned on the heat gun, it popped a
Yeah.
breaker inside. There is a braked switch inside the garage. It killed half my garage.
Lovely.
So I have at least 2 circuits in the garage,
Yep.
which means I can't run a welder. I can't run a air compressor out there.
Not without running a new wire from
Yep.
your.
And I'm gonna have to. But I mean, literally, if I do that, it's gonna be like the Nova. I mean, it's gonna be like the TA. Everything is gonna go. It's all gonna get pulled out. It's all gonna get. Cause that stuff. Some of that stuff is old enough. I have an actual, like, open switched power source, like the old school, like a miniature version of like the Frankenstein. It's
Yep.
alive. Yeah, an actual throw switch in there. I have cloth covered wiring in that garage mixed with yellow coated fucking house wire.
Yep. My house has the cloth coated wire still in it too.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is and the thing is, it's all mixed in, so it's like I have no idea what's running where, how it's running, and I just think it's gonna be better to just get rid of everything because God knows what was done right. You know, I just at this point I'm just not looking, so I don't see the potential fire hazard. You know, if I don't look, it's not there, and if I don't think about it, it won't happen.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's all got to go, which means running a new whatever from the basement all the way out to the garage, and putting a fuse panel in the garage.
Yep.
Because I think right now it just has like 2 breaker switches, but not an actual fuse box.
Oh, you could have those twist-in fuses.
No, I don't have those. It's a whatever. It took me a minute to find it when I blew that circuit, and I didn't know where the hell this thing even was. So I started following wires to see if it went to anything, or if I was gonna have to go all the way back into the house to freaking throw the switch.
Yeah.
But at least there's a switch inside the garage that'll trip first.
Yep.
So yeah, but I definitely need a dedicated 220 line because I want to run a welder. And I'm guessing that I'm going to need a 220 line for the big air compressor because I want to run at least a 60 to 80 gallon air compressor. So that's probably going to need its own.
Luckily, with that, if you put the air compressor in one spot and use the plug,
I could unplug it and plug in the welder.
You can make an adapter wire, like an extension cord. Say you got to go to this side of the garage, you can and
Yeah,
plug
I know,
in.
but I don't want to sit here and have to unplug one thing to plug something else. I'd rather leave the air compressor plugged in. You know, and I'd probably run a plug towards the entranceway of the garage, so if I need to weld something outside of the garage or inside, the plug is like in a central location. But the other thing is I want to eventually have woodworking materials. So I'd like to have a table saw and a drill press and and so like one side of the garage would be automotive stuff, would be an oversized bay, like a little, like another 2 or 3 feet wider than what I have. And then everything else on the other side of the garage would be workspace and woodworking. So like benches, like a work table and then woodworking and metalworking, because I'd love to have a lathe and a mill machine too, but that might be all too much for that space. But I've seen people cram more stuff into a smaller space than what I'm looking at.
Yeah, simple. Finnegan.
Huh?
Look how much stuff he has crammed in one area. Mike Finnegan.
I mean, like from
Roadkill.
yeah, he's got a pretty big shop. I've seen his shop. Much bigger than my space.
When he's working at his house in his garage, his basement garage, all the stuff he has crammed in one corner.
Yeah. I don't know.
You know?
But all of those machines take a lot of freaking power.
Yep.
And I don't know how house power works and how, like, how much can I bring in and, without needing, more power draw or whatever. I don't know. I don't know how any of that works. Because I don't know if I'm going to need to make more, like, is there a certain amount of circuits you can have in a house? Is there, would I need to bring in a second line if it came to that? Or, like, how does that work? I don't know. But her dad's an electrician and all that shit. She said that all I have to do is buy whatever he needs, but he needs to tell me what I need to buy.
And more or less, if you buy the wiring coming from your meter on the side of the house to the breaker box, if you buy that wire, you can tap into the wiring at the top of your breaker box for your in-feed. Jump your power from there to your new breaker box and then break it all down so you can run, 5 220 plugs in a breaker box and then set up your 110 as well.
Well, I still have to take out that inner wall and level out the garage floor before I can do anything. Plus, figure out how I'm going to make the garage door opening another 3 or 4 feet wider.
Yeah.
Because I don't want 2 garage doors. I only really need 1 big wide one. And a man door. So I'd like to have, like, on that side of the garage, I'd like to have 1 big wider one. Instead of a standard size one, get an oversized garage door. And I'd like to have the roll up kind that roll up into itself.
Yeah.
Because then I can have my ceiling is open. And I'd like to have a man door on the other side of that wall. Then I'd have a man door into the yard and a man door out to the alley.
Yep.
Maybe even a man door facing the alley where we park the cars. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. But the front, the side with the garage doors, that's a load bearing wall, and the side with the man door to the backyard, that's a load bearing wall. The sides are not load bearing, so that means that center wall in the middle shouldn't be load bearing.
Shouldn't be.
So I should be able to take that out. I'll leave the truss in the middle, but just take out the center.
Yeah.
Because the truss is supporting the ceiling. So yeah, I mean, I think that's what I want to do. But then again, I got to level the concrete in the floor too, because the one side of the garage is not the same height as the other side. And for some stupid reason, there's the concrete comes up instead of being flat. So there's 2 ways I think I can do that. Either I can level all of the concrete up to the same level as that step, or knock out the step and bring the other side of the concrete up to the whatever one's higher.
Yeah.
But it's still going to take a decent amount of concrete. But yeah, I think I just want to bring the whole thing up to the same level. That way, when I can pull a car in catty corner or straight, I'll have room on both sides of the car to work. Because right now I can't. I mean, I can open both car doors, but I can't walk around the car if the car doors are open.
Yeah. Oh, there's the wall.
Yeah. Like I said, I can open the car doors. I can open the car doors and get in the car on either side. While I have enough room to jack a car up on the side. But there's I'm still backed up against the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I don't know. I think I'm going to end this live stream as far as the live stream itself. only because
Alright.
we haven't had anybody in the live in God knows how long. Since 11 something.
Nice.
We have had nobody in here since 11-ish, and it's now 12:30. It's the last hour and a half. Nobody's been in the chat. The last actual chat recording is from 10:44. So, I'm going to end the live stream itself. That doesn't mean you have to disappear, but and catch you guys all next week, and hope you have a good weekend.